what's going on, everybody? What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? It is, what is it? It's, this is impromptu. I don't know who's going to show up, but, but we'll see. We'll see, because it's impromptu and it's unprepared. It is 8:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, September the 22nd, 2023, 5:08, where this guy to your right, my left is, although he's not in Canada, despite having the Canadian flag. Isn't that right,
Very
Vince?
supportive. Yes, just supportive of our neighbors to the north.
Nice. Oh, do you have,
I do. It must be on somewhere. I thought.
is it on somewhere?
It's on another thing. Yeah, that's my bad, buddy.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries.
See how unprepared. Where would it be?
I don't know. Is it me?
Here, I'm just going to get rid of all of them. There we go. There you go. Go on. Why not just get rid of all of Chrome?
Just get rid of it completely. Just, yeah.
Yeah, I had it up to kind of like, watch off to the side, but I must have had it open in a second window. My bad.
That's all right. Man? No worries. I'm doing all right.
Not in Canada.
No, and you're not. No, you are in LA. Of course, you are neck deep in. See, I'm neck deep in pre-production. You're neck deep in post-production. Two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Let's start there, man. Tell us how are things go. Look, Never Hike Alone 2 releasing on Friday, October the 13th, 2023. We are just like weeks away now from the release of this highly anticipated follow-up to your 2017 film, Never Hike Alone, of course, and the follow-up to the 2020 film, Never Hike in the Snow. It just suddenly ended. Now, of course, but here we are. I mean, this is a big journey for you, and you are getting ready to sort of, complete this thing. And I'm excited for you. I think I guess it's the first 5 minutes of the film that you released last fall. You showed at Mad Monster as well. Looks great. Gets me excited to watch it. Talk to me. What's going on? Where are you? What's happening?
Well, first of all, congratulations on everything with It's Me, Billy 2, getting funded, all of those fun things. I know I can commiserate with you in sort of the funding of it all, the pre-production and the sort of waiting to shoot. So I understand the anticipation, and being on the other side of it now, met that like anticipation for release. And in the middle of all that work, I'm trying to remember to get out and remind people that this film is coming on Friday the 13th. It's going to be released on the Womp Stomp Films YouTube page for free in the evening. It's going to be actually showing in a ton of events around the country. If you go to the Never Hike Alone 2 Indiegogo page on our updates, we're listing the places where certain events are going to be happening. You can get in on that. Obviously, we're still, running our campaign. Credits are still open. We're going to be closing them on Monday. So we're trying to get out the word about that. We're running a contest that if, you get a specific perk called the Jarvis versus Jason perks, there's 4 of them. And then there's a bunch of new VHSs that we've applied these to as well. You basically getting that perk automatically enters you into a raffle to become an executive producer, where you walk away with.
Here we go.
It's a prop. It's not real.
It's a prop, YouTube. Real. Here comes my age restriction.
But this is the actual screen use shotgun from the film. It works. It's not a real shotgun. It does load dummy shells.
Wow, nice.
Okay? It's metal. It's real. I mean, Tom had 2 of them in the film. You're going to get one of them. They both saw equal use and different scenes. We swapped them in and out a lot. Tossed one around. Had a lot of fun with it, but you could win that. Basically on September 25th, we're going to close the raffle. We're going to close the credits. We're going to get our stuff ready for post-production. I'm going to select the winner out of, raffle style. Not going to do it live. In fact, the way we're going to make people find out is you tune in on Friday the 13th, and when you see your name listed under Tom Matthews, you'll know you won the contest.
Very cool.
And we'll contact you and we'll get you everything there. So it's going to be a really cool sort of, anticipation for that contest, just the screen credits. And really, credits start as low as $10. We're really looking to find every Friday the 13th fan who wants to be a part of this. I feel like the time of fan films, especially for Friday the 13th, sort of coming to a close. The Peacock series is going to be coming out next year. And I think fan films are really going to die off for that sort of side of things. I think other stuff is going to start to take off. So it's a really good time to sort of get in it and get on that, the time that was between the 14 years of drought from, Friday the 13th, 2009 to an actual TV series in 2024, or even more, 15, 16 years of drought. It's been hard to be a Friday the 13th fan. And that's why fan films existed. And fans have been the lifeblood behind our project. All we try to do is outreach and find as many of them as possible. Word of mouth is a big thing too. So say you're already a backer, we're looking and reminding people to say, hey, remind your friends, remind your family, remind people around you, remind people on social media to let them know about the project, because when this releases to the public and it's free for people to see, when they look back on it in 5-10 years and people talk about the time of fan films, they're going to see your name on there. It's something that you're going to be able to brag about. It's something you're going to be a part of. You're going to share a screen credit either way with Tom Matthews and Vinny Guastafaro and Douglas Tate and maybe a few other people too. And it's going to be something that people talk about after a long time. So we just want to get as many people together as possible, because this is a fan-made film for fans. And the more fans that we have names on it, the better it is, I think, in the long run, for when studios look back and they see how popular this was, that maybe they start taking Friday the 13th a little bit more seriously, or they see that there's a way to make story. Like, they've been stumped all this time trying to make stories, like lawsuit and all that other stuff aside, they still couldn't develop anything. But I think fan films will show there's a plethora of different storylines that they could follow, different things that they can do. And we want Jason back. And in the meantime, since they're, still delayed, the fans are stepping up, and you can be a part of this Friday the 13th, and you can be a part of the celebration, or you can just watch it on YouTube for free.
That's true. And the closing date to get your name into the credits is Monday, correct?
Monday, September 25th.
Monday, September 25th.
Yeah, I'll basically start switching the campaign around. So things will still be open. We're going to leave the campaign open through the end of the year as far as pre-orders for Blu-rays and other items that are on the campaign. Obviously, the Blu-ray is not going to be ready for a few months. So we're going to keep the campaign open, allow people to, especially who discover the film after it releases. We're sure we'll find more people. That sort of always happens after a bigger release.
Yeah.
And until we, basically fulfill every last perk, we'll basically stay open that entire time until we feel like we're on our final run, close it up probably sometime early next year.
Right.
But to get your name in the credits, you got to do it now. So that's why we want to just remind everybody, trying to do a final push and just remind people that it's coming out and we're really excited about it. It was a long, arduous production. We were supposed to shoot last year. We got pushed into the spring. Even this spring got pushed into this summer from, a lot of stuff that was just out of our control. And it's like, if everything went perfect, that would have been great, but it did not go perfect as far as like the way we planned it. So we had to adapt, and we were able to finish the film. And right now we're sort of in the back half of post-production, like a locked cut, colors in motion, music's in motion, sounds in motion, visual effects are in motion. And we're hoping to wrap it all up by the end of September. Early October, basically exporting a few days before the release on Friday the 13th. And then it will be sent to all the festivals and events that it will be playing at. And in that time, we'll announce the festivals that it will be playing at. And we're just ready for fans to see it. I'm really excited. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of money up on screen, and we're excited for people to see what they invested in.
That's right. Yeah. And so, I'm excited to see it. What was I going to say? There was two things I was going to say. Now I forget. Okay, let me go to the other thing. So what can people expect from Never Hike Alone 2? Without giving spoilers, this is presumably the final installment in this fan series, like, Billy Chapter 2.
Yeah, well, everyone who was upset that Never Hike in the Snow was so short, and who wanted to know all the questions about, Tommy finding Kyle and what happens after the ambulance pulls away, like, this is the ending of the story. This is what we always said. We needed more money to tell the rest of the story.
Right.
And that's what it is. We're going to answer all the questions. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of emotion. We're continuing multiple storylines. The story from Never Hike in the Snow with Diana Hill, still missing her son, Mark. We have Kyle MacLeod and his story about his escape, but does he really get to escape? The continued rivalry between Tommy Jarvis and Rick Colon. And then, of course, the saga of Ghost Jason Voorhees. And all of these, characters cross paths. And I think we do a pretty cool job of just showing what this would look like, as far as like if all of these elements came together and everything we've been building towards, like what could it be, what would a final fight between Tommy and Jason look like. We come up with a, you know, like a 5-part fight that spans the entire film of Tommy and Jason, you know, fighting and sort of regrouping and you know, coming, you know, crossing paths and trying to kill each other until it's the very end. Like I keep likening it to a kaiju film. There's just a lot of battle scene. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Never Hike Alone, we did, you know, we had a few battles between Kyle MacLeod, and now we've sort of spread those battles out between different characters. You know what I mean? Different people get to face Jason at certain times. And then there's also sort of classic Friday the 13th stalk and slash scenes. There's action sequences. But one of the things I'm really proud of is just the overall tone, look, scope, and, you know, emotion of the film, like the way that is carried through, that these are characters with real problems. These are characters who are facing sort of a real issue in each of their lives in one way, shape, or form. The way the story unfolds, and everyone's performance in the film is great. It's one of the things I'm most proud of, is the fact that we really brought up everyone's performances with this project. I think everyone across the board did a great job, from, you know, from our lead Tom to Vinny to all the way down to our supporting cast. Everyone brought something to the film. Even our extras were like surprisingly like great. So like I'm just excited for people to see that an independent company can raise money through fans, completely side skirt the studio system, and just raise money and create content that, you know, is on par with a lot of the stuff they're going to see on streaming. I'm not saying that we're coming out with, you know, the next what's the big show right now on Netflix, where everybody's like got superpowers and they're pirates and stretchy and all that. So one punch or something. I don't know.
I have no idea.
You know,
super pirates that are stretchy.
Super pirates. Yeah, I don't know. Something on Netflix is that. That's what I keep seeing going around. But I don't know. Squid Games. Like obviously we don't have that type of budget. But
Right.
What I'm saying is a lot of the independent horror that you see coming out on streaming or in Shudder and things like that, I think that we're starting to really sort of nail that production value as well. And, you know, I think it started on, I think it started all the way back, you know, on Never Hike Alone, but I think it's evident in Dylan's New Nightmare. I think it's evident in It's Me, Billy. I think it's really nice that there's sort of a nice working sort of community that we've built of people who are really sort of pushing each other to up their production value, tell big stories, and, you know, take big swings in the fan film world. And sort of elevate it out of the, it's just people in their backyard with cameras who don't know what they're doing, versus like, no, we have things to say about these characters. The studios have taken no effort to do that. So we're going to take it upon ourselves to tell these stories before time runs out. You know, you have a great opportunity to tell the story, you know, having Olivia back and being able to actually connect it and connect those threads to the original timeline in a way that no one else is giving an effort to.
That's right.
And fans who have always wanted to see it or always wondered why, well, now they're going to get to do it, and they get to be a part of it, which is really rad. Same thing with Friday the 13th. If they've ever wanted to see what happened to Tommy or what happened after part 8, that if we ignored Jason Goes to Hell and things like that, how could have it ended if they didn't go that route? If it was never sold to New Line, if Paramount was going to make one more film. And I think that's really what I tried to make. I tried to make, if Paramount made the 9th film and not New Line, this is sort of what it would be. And when we look back on Never Hike Alone, I really feel like it's going to be fun to go back in, I think, after all of this and put it all together and say, look, like it's been built over the last 6 years, but really it is all one big long story. And it can sit all in one timeline, and we'll do that sort of final supercut. But that would be sort of like in one sort of nutshell, the 9th entry, the final chapter of Friday the 13th, this final chapter, part 2 of Friday the 13th. Again, starring Tommy Jarvis as an older man, versus from when it started as he was a younger child. I think it's such a great way to bookend the series. And I feel like this is the story a lot of fans have been waiting for. And I just hope that as many people as possible jump on the Never Hike Alone train as possible. And then when we shift ourselves into going into original projects, we hope to take a lot of those fans with us when we start doing the original projects and developing there, because then that's a whole different game, and what you can do with those films versus what you can do with a fan film after it's completed and done is a lot more fun. I mean, we can start getting films in theaters this way. And that's a really cool story to start as a 5-minute short and go all the way to, being able to get together with fans, create films, and then put them in the theaters that they can go see and have direct, ownership, or not so much ownership, but just investment and their name in the theater again, to say, we help bring this to the screen.
That's it.
And that's what they do for these fan films as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And just to piggyback off what you said there, I think you're right. I mean, it's such a cool opportunity for fans to be a part of something that they otherwise, that not only that the studios have never done, but that likely the studios will never do. And it is unlikely that we will ever see, although, okay, you never say never, but it is unlikely we will ever see, Tom Matthews as Tommy Jarvis facing off against Jason in any sort of studio released official capacity ever again. I mean, it's not something that is, generally going to happen. Obviously.
And I've heard stories too of when they've tried to bring back Tom Matthews, but they run into some rights issue because there's some nebulous right from some other thing that won't allow two things to coexist at the same time.
Right.
And so it becomes this backdoor sort of, I'm not doing the paperwork to release the rights for Tom Jarvis. If I'm at Paramount, I'm not helping out New Line by giving them our project, or whoever owns it in whatever way.
Right.
It's just there's no cooperation. And because there's no cooperation or communication between all of the rights holders of the way Friday is split up, it hurts the product that they get to give the fans and what the fans could get. So they always sort of have to start from scratch in a way.
Yeah.
And so it sort of hurts the franchise. And I wish that there was more of a, camaraderie around these people. But let's get together, put as much IP together as possible and make as much money as possible and bring Tom back.
That's right.
But that's not what they did, and they haven't done it. So the fact that we did it is just sort of, good thing we did it when we did.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point is that it's very special, and it's to say, what happened with Miko, obviously, on Dylan's New Nightmare, what we're doing with Olivia and Lynn, of course, who's returning to the Black Christmas world. She's not playing the same character because her character died, but she's playing that character's sister, which was a really cool way, a cool way to bring her back into the fold. And it's true. It's like a fantasy football, or you like, you know what I mean? In a lot of ways like you're like, imagine if, imagine if, you know what I mean? And of course it's a lot harder, or it's easier said than done, but hopefully fans see the value in that. And because it is unlikely that we will ever get a Black Christmas film from a studio like this, or a Friday the 13th film like that. And so I think it's important that fans do come out, show their appreciation, get in on it. And, as I've often said too, is that you don't have to be, and maybe, I recognize that this is a little, that not everybody feels this way, but you don't have to be a gigantic fan of the series or the franchise or the property to get it, to recognize almost the cultural significance of it and how cool it is. And, I've often said, look, when we decided to do It's Me, Billy and Black Christmas, that ain't no low hanging fruit. I mean, that's not, it's not like, people are like, yeah, we had to really carve our way out and prove that, we weren't just doing a, subpar fan film. We were making, a low budget indie horror short and really sort of capitalize on the feeling of the, that original film. But it's, what's cool about it is, and, what you've done and what Cecil has done as well. And is, to showcase something that you don't have to be, a huge fan of, say, New Nightmare or Black Christmas, whatever, to get in on the party and to celebrate sort of what we're doing. And because it is, in a lot of ways, it's horror history, and it's something that the studios won't do, and they won't do it for a variety of reasons, not because they hate the fans. There's a variety of reasons why they won't, but it ain't going to happen. And so, I agree. I think what you've done, especially because obviously, you came along in 2017 and you carved out this sort of this path and this niche area here and built that up. And it's like, wow, that's really cool, and sort of planted that seed. And I think it's important. And again, I understand it's easier said than done for us because we work in the industry, but at the same time, it's the principle of it. You know what I mean? And we're not trying to disrespect anything or the properties or we're trying to, we are celebrating them. That's what we're doing. We're celebrating them and giving something to the fans that they've always wanted to see, but couldn't. And this is the only way that you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I think another side of it too, the selfish side of it is the fact that it's selfish in the right that we've always wanted to work for these properties.
Right.
Like if they were offering jobs and we could go work for them, we would go work for them in a heartbeat. But the problem is those jobs don't exist and may never exist.
Right.
And we get one shot, as far as we know, of living on this blue rock and then calling it a day for eternity.
Yeah.
So if I want to work on a Friday the 13th film and I have to create the opportunity myself and I have to go in front of fans who can be as, they can naysay as much as they want. They can be as like, there's no way you can make a Friday the 13th fan film good.
Right.
You can't make a good one. It will never exist. They can say that. But you know what? It's my job to convince them otherwise. And it's other people to convince them otherwise. And no matter what property you're in, I mean, there's so many fan films out now that people are very sort of cautious of like what they're going to back.
Yeah.
And so you really do have to prove yourself. And I feel like just like what we did with Never Hike Alone, nobody jumped on board right away. We had to fight for and scratch for every single backer we got in that first campaign, which was 277.
Yeah.
And, we just crossed 2,700 on Never Hike Alone too. So that's how much it's coming. And every single backer we have scratched and clawed and earned because they've come on, they've liked what we have done, and they wanted to join this train. And
that's it.
And with, It's Me, Billy, with Dylan's New Nightmare, it's the same thing. It's like in both instances, you both raised enough to create very solid short films that people wanted to see more of.
That's right.
And their complaint about it not having whatever is going to come after it, same thing with Never Hike in the Snow, was that, listen, like you only supported it so far. Like we took this to as far as it could go. And now that we've shown you that we're capable of creating something of quality and that the story is interesting, if you come back and support it, we're going to continue going. And you've had that opportunity with It's Me, Billy, and you're going to be able to see that through. And I'm really hoping that Cecil gets a chance with his, because he's proven now that there is there, and we get to come back and finish that story, because we've pitched some really cool ideas that really kind of blow, that are going to do that. But more than anything, I would say Nightmare on Elm Street really needs to do some stuff, because we want to play with that nightmare world. We want to go into the stuff that's bending reality, but that comes with a little extra cost. It's not, a down to earth sort of, film where it's set in the real world. And, I guess there is some of that, but you want to go to those places. So I think that Cecil will get his day in court. It's doing really well. And then when people come back, they're going to be more apt to you got to prove it. And I think as long as anyone, if they're doing any type of project, whether it be a fan film, whether it be original, whether it be a short film or a feature, you just got to prove it. And once you prove yourself and people are confident in the material that you make, they're going to come back and keep supporting you. So I think that no one's getting rich off fan films. I haven't seen a fan film in years, make over $1 million. And even those films, all the production goes into the movies. Like, that's as right. It's like, it doesn't matter how much money you raise. It's all going into the movie.
Yeah, no, we get literally nothing.
We walk away with, I usually walk away having to owe money. It's usually how it usually goes, because I make investments along the way. I buy things for the movie along the way. That's right. Make sacrifices along the way, because I'd rather have something for the film than, and I everybody that I coach, as far as like when I produce, I'm always saying, like, don't worry about what you're getting. Like, don't worry about find a way to get as much into the film as possible, because that's your reward. As a director, you want to turn around and say, the money is on the screen, not in my pocket.
Well, that's it.
And, until we're getting paid to do this, you want to make sure that your teams are taken care of, that you have the equipment, there, that people are eating well, and all of these things are happening. And that costs money. And sometimes you may be a little bit short. So you're going to put some of your own money in. Yeah. I'd rather put some of my own money in and make it better than have to skimp on something and make it a harder experience for the people on set. And even then, when we do that, it's still a hard experience, because these aren't, high budget days. These people, it's not the lap of luxury out on set. It's like a grind out there. It's 12 hours. There's crafty food, there's catered food, but it's, it's eating out. It's not eating as healthy as we normally would. It's not eating a home cooked meal most of the time. Yeah. So, it's, you know, and all that stuff adds up too. So it's like, I think people don't really understand that. Like, they see the big numbers on crowdfunding and they think all these nefarious things, but if they understood how much responsibility and how fast that money burns,
Ooh.
they would be like, you know what, you have fun with that.
Yeah,
you
no, it's
you have fun, man. You have fun watching that bank account just plummet throughout the year because you're just constantly having to get things and purchase things and get insurance and, you know, purchase permits and rent equipment and, you know, pay invoices and do all of these things. And by the time you're done, you're like, oh my God, I hope we got to get back to crowdfunding.
yeah, you know, it's true. I'm dealing with that right now. You know, myself and Bruce, obviously neck deep in pre-production, and you're right. I mean, I try not to let it sort of, you know, I usually let it go over my head. But there are certain people that, you know, and it's not willful ignorance. It's just people don't understand, right? I mean, to your point, they see a number on the crowdfunding campaign and they think, well, you can just, I mean, what the hell do you need that much for? I mean, I could make a feature-length film for, you know, $10,000, you know? And as we often say, well, yes, and it would look like a feature film that was shot for $10,000. But when you're shooting, you know, again, yes, these are fan films, and I don't want to speak for you, Vince, but I've often sort of said on my own that I think you would agree that, yes, they are fan films because we don't own the intellectual property, and we have to put the label on that. They are fan films, but at the end of the day, they are low-budget indie, shorts. And you know, they are professionally made with professional actors, you know, and we are going through the same process as we would as if we were shooting an original film. It's just they have to have the fan
and they're
film
fun to make.
They're a blast to make because we get to play in that sandbox that you know, the chances of us being hired to actually do it are, I mean, it's not nothing, but it's a lot lower because there's so much more experienced people out there that are ahead of us in terms of you know, that side. But you know, it's a, yes, we got to put the fan film label on it. Of course, I have no issues doing that, but you know, they are low budget.
But it's a great place to
films.
also stretch yourself as a director and play and sort of, like, it's funny, like everyone, like the two arguments I always hear that make me laugh are like, well, what about the money and like you're making other people's films? Listen, if I made an original short or if I made an original feature, me as an indie horror filmmaker making money on that is slim to none.
Right.
You know what I mean? What's the most I have to look forward to? Like, there's what Terrifier did, there's what Talk to Me did, you know, all of those things. And those didn't make, like, those made millions, but the millions are going to the studios and things like that. And as a director, I would make some money and that would be great. And I don't think that's out of the realm of what will happen in my future if I keep doing the right work. But in the meantime, like, you know, my first feature, maybe I make some money to be on set. And maybe it makes it out on streaming, but who else watches it? You know what I mean? Right. Who's really going to pick it up? I don't know yet. Who is going to trust me with $1 million to make a proper feature in the first place? Or, you know, how am I going to try to do that? Like, I get it. Like, but for me to come on and play with Friday the 13th in this way, which I never really understood what it would do when I did it. At first I was just doing it because I was doing it. Yeah. And then I got an opportunity to keep telling the story. So I wanted to keep telling it. But it's just, you know, it's that. And then the other funny, and so it's like, it's not like there's independent filmmakers out there like raking in cash. Like all of a sudden I start making original films and I'm going to be rich. It's like, maybe I'll get paid to get on set, but like, I just want to tell the stories I'm passionate about. So getting rich and all that stuff and all the money, it's like, you'll be lucky if you make some money off it and you don't have to put money into it in the end. That's as good as it gets, even in indie. And if I ever make anything studio, that's probably years off. Yeah. And the other thing too is that, like, well, you're making somebody else's work. Well, guess what? Even if I made something original, I guarantee you the first thing they're going to offer me at the studio level is a remake of something else. Right. So why don't I show, or maybe, hey, maybe I want to go into TV directing, which I've actually taken a big interest in. I do like serial directing. I do like the way that the life of a TV director works here in the States. Right. I love episodic television. I love continuing storylines. What better way to prove to people on your reel to say that you can continue storyline than picking something up that's been dead, reviving it and making it good? Yeah, it's true. It's a proving point. So in as a director, you have to know how to tell your own stories, and you also know how to tell and continue other stories that you share with other directors and writers and things like that. Yeah. And so looking back on what's been created in Friday the 13th, looking back what's been created in Black Christmas or in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, we're sort of seeing how well we could do as, you know, writers on a show running team to say, okay, we're going to continue the story. This is how I would continue it. It's a pitch.
Yeah.
You know, they used to call what was the word? I'm forgetting right now. They used to be specs. I mean, this is how they used to call this spec.
Yeah.
We're just putting spec in motion because the world in which you could write a spec script, send it into Hollywood and get work is gone. You have to make spec shorts.
Yeah.
You have to make spec films to show and prove people. If people want to see things in motion, imagination in Hollywood is gone.
Yeah.
The people running the studios need to see it. They can't imagine it. They can't read it on the page and say, oh, it's going to be a movie. They can't see storyboards and imagine like, oh, that's going to be a movie. They have to see the finalized thing, at least the money people anyway, and then they'll invest in it.
Yeah.
So to be able to raise this much money and, you know, invest in the productions and show people that we can do it at that level. When I turn around and say, now I want to do something original, at least I can look back on my fan film things and say, we can manage that money. We can turn that money into footage. We can make that footage watchable. And we can tell stories that are relatable and interesting, and people will want to see them, at least at some level. And that's it's a long, hard journey. It's not easy. It's not like we just say, hey, Friday the 13th. Okay, here's a mask. Here's $300 in like a day. You know what I mean?
That's my point, right? And again, not to sound like a, you know, broken record, but it goes back to, yes, they are fan films because we don't own the intellectual property, but we're taking it very seriously. And, you know, so seriously to the point where we are approaching each and every production. We're making, you know, I always say we're making a real movie. I mean, this isn't, you know, kids in your backyard and not there's anything wrong with that, but we've just decided to cut our teeth on IPs that exist. And of course, not for profit, you know, fan film, sure. But that's what we're doing. And we're doing it to showcase what we can do. And yes, it's no secret that a built-in proven IP with eyeballs obviously gets more eyeballs onto what you're doing. Well, of course. I mean, that's
but you still have to make that good.
But you still have
how many Friday the 13th fan films have been pitched and brought onto crowdfunding that haven't reached their goals.
That's it.
Never Hike Alone, the first campaign being one of them. So
well, no,
you have to prove yourself.
It was on Kickstarter, I believe you began, right? Way back in the day. And but that's it, is that you still have to make a good product. You still have to showcase what you can do. You still have to, you know, the film still has to lay out professionally from top to bottom in terms of, you know, yes, the production value, but the acting, the blocking is a huge thing. You know, sound design and edit. I mean, it's got to still, you know, as you said, it's got to play the part. You know, and that is something that we take very seriously.
Blurring the line. I think that's the challenge. The challenge is blurring the line. And I think that's fun. I think that's a fun challenge as a creative, is to sort of like take something you love and blur the line between, we might say we're a fan film, but we're going to blur the line on what that quality level is and maybe do things. And we've had, you know, and you too, I look back and say this is just as good, if not better, than things that already exist in the franchise that's actually legitimate. And so when you get compliments like that and you do things like that, you want to continue that sort of, you want to give those fans what they want because they're interested in seeing what's there. And I always said there was more story to Never Hike Alone.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that enough people got into it that I was actually able to tell this story, because this story would have haunted me if I never got to tell it. That's the only way I can explain it. I had to tell this story. I had to get it out, and doing it has been cathartic and therapeutic because it's opened up a whole new avenue for original stories that I've had for for many years that I've sort of been inching forward, that I now feel new energy for, because Never Hike Alone is completed.
Right.
Well, almost completed. But when it is, sort of being there, I don't have to tell this story anymore. The story's on the screen. It's out. It's
well, and you're a better,
even my last note, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're a better, more experienced filmmaker now than you were when you began. And not that, and you had
totally.
Yeah. And you had experience when you began too. But now you're more polished, you're more seasoned. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's the way we, like, you know, for example, like, you know, I said, you know, and you know this already, but I, you know, when we did the first Billy, we had a meeting with, a studio who saw the film and loved it, thought it was really great. and was interested. They were interested in producing films between $5 million and $30 million bucks, like in sort of that low budget kind of range. And he thought that this producer loved what we did, said, I couldn't believe you produced this. This is great. You got the hook. You got this, that. Really, really liked it. We did a treatment. They liked the treatment. They had notes and blah, blah, blah. That's still very much an open door and involved. But Bruce and I, there was this gnawing thing in the back, right? It's like, it's an incomplete story. We really wanted to complete the Billy story and complete the Black Christmas trilogy. That's essentially what it is. You watch the original from 1974, you watch It's Me, Billy from 2021, watch chapter 2 from 2024, and you have this big arc. And that was very exciting for us. And although we were in the middle of sort of, working with this guy, and again, the door is open, we ultimately felt that we needed to finish the Billy story, continue to hone our skills and our craft so that by the end of it, we have a complete narrative piece with 1 and 2, which will only bolster our portfolio and calling card and make us stronger and make our portfolio stronger as well. And that's what we decided to do. Anyways, it's to your point, right, about how there's this journey that you're on and honing your craft and your skills. This isn't just playing around with your friends. Like I often will call It's Me, Billy and chapter 2 because there's a stigma, as you know, around fan film. I mean, you see it all the time. Even when people review Billy or review Dylan Zoo Nightmare or review Never Hike Alone, usually there's like they'll preface their review with, so I don't usually review fan films because fan films and because I don't blame them for saying that, because there's a stigma out there, right? There's a stigma that fan films, it's bad acting, the blocking's terrible, someone's head's cut off, and whatever the case is. Some are better than others, of course, but there's that stigma that we need to sort of get around. And you're right, it's fun to play with blurring those lines. And I've often said that maybe it's not really, I mean, they still have to be fan films. That is sort of in the vernacular, but I will often call, Billy a fan and tribute film. I'll often throw sort of tribute in there too, to kind of again, blur that line to kind of push it a bit further. Maybe I need to do that more than maybe you do or Cecil does, because with Freddie and Jason, of course, they often will sell themselves. But I agree with what you're saying. It's fun to play in that sandbox, and I just want to say that I'm very proud of you, and I'm proud of Cecil for continuing to work hard, to just to lay it all out there. I mean, people don't understand, we're making real movies, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot of sleepless nights and stuff where you're sitting there and you're going, fuck, I still got to, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much stuff you got to do.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think one of the commenters had a good point, was the technology and the way that it's come. I think just, that's very good. Independent cinema in general has come a long way in the last 20 years, and especially in the last 10, the way that we have, think about it. Like, I'm not a professional filmmaker in the stance that, like, I have studio money, I'm going out and getting a cinema camera. But with the money we raised through Never Hike Alone, we shot with a camera that shoots 8K. Yeah. That has a cinema sensor, that, cinema lenses, things like that. And, for even less money, you can still shoot 4K, you can shoot 6K. Mm-hmm. You can replicate a cinematic look much easier with today's equipment than you could back in the day when fan films were really birthed, when they were, home video cameras where a lot of people liken sort of the original thing. So I think, Never Hike Alone is sort of right on the cusp of when that technology really started to shift. We took advantage of it. In fact, that was one of the first questions that I asked my DP at the time, was like, how do we get a cinematic look? Because I've been on a lot of short films and I've been on a lot of indie films that just look like indie films. Like, what is the difference? And we sat down and we analyzed it, and we said, what can we do? What tools do we have? And we did it. And it became, an experiment. And Never Hike Alone was part of an experiment. And we were just, a bunch of young guys having fun, like experimenting with cameras, telling some Jason stories, not really with a big agenda. It wasn't until I had created Never Hike Alone and saw the impact that he had and saw the opportunities that it opened in my path and said, okay, I'm going to go down this path and I'm going to pursue it, because I feel, I felt a drive to it. I didn't know
Yeah.
exactly where it was going to go, but every time I pushed myself in that direction, every time I pushed Never Hike Alone further down the line and saw what was at the next threshold, it always led to me something new. It led me to someone new. And over the years, while I was just sitting here trying to tell these stories that I was really passionate about, the result is that I was able to surround myself with dozens of people who are all very talented at what they do, that when I approach now to go do original stuff, I have a team.
That's it.
It started as a few people, and now it's an entire team of people that we all get together, and this is our circus. Well, this is our band. And when we get together, we can do something. We can do great things.
Yeah, no, I again, to you're bang on. I mean, when we started Billy 4 years ago, actually, because it was 2019 when I made the announcement, we entered development. I mean, and where I am now, I mean, the connections I've made, the people I know. I mean, as of right now, I have my own, production company with Bruce. Sorry, I had like 5 thoughts in my head there all at once. I know. I do know his name. And I do know it's a production company. I was like, there's like 500 thoughts just went into my head all at once. I'm like, oh no. But that's a future sort of, that's something that's come out of this, right?
Meeting you. I mean,
yes,
us meeting each other, us 100%. Working together, brought it to, meeting me. And we were talking about this. I was talking the other day with Cecil. It's just this, it's once you get onto that circuit and you start to see that there are other people out there, you start to communicate with people that are all over the world.
Yeah.
How many people from all over the world had supported It's Me Billy? Like when you're shipping out perks and you go like, wait, where am I? The Sudan?
It's like 17 what? Countries or something ridiculous like that. It's like, where is that? And you find like it's a little island in the middle of like, the Pacific, and you're like, what the hell?
I'm like, Kuwait?
Iraq? What?
Is this package gonna make it?
I don't know.
Like, okay. There's like 3 letters in like the whole address. And
that's right. You're like, I don't know if this is gonna
house number 3.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. Wow. Geez. God, I guess I gotta send it.
That someone, I don't know. It makes me laugh when I sit there and I think about the places of the world where there's like a Never Hike Alone Blu-ray sitting on a shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and yeah. I got it on my shelf. I got Never Hike in the Snow on my shelf.
Yeah. And so it's just, it's a cool feeling, I think is, if anything, the vanity of a filmmaker, dude, put the money aside, put everything aside.
Yeah.
The only thing we want you to do is we want you to watch it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We do this so you watch it. We want to create things that people watch. And if people watch it, it validates you. You know what I mean? When people like, and yeah, maybe it's, when it comes to fan films, it's all something that like, I'm not just saying like, I understand how there's already a draw to what we want to see, but this is specifically what I wanted to see out of Friday the 13th. And so I want people to come and see, I Never Hike Alone developed out of me having long diatribes in Friday the 13th posts, forums,
I remember
in threads.
You saying that. This is like years ago, isn't it? You used to be on there and like,
yeah, I mean, and it was just, but that's how it was. That's where the culture got together. We got together on chat forums and we talked about theory and we tried to connect the films. And then, the new film came out in 2009. And I felt like, honestly, I just felt like as a fan, no one understood what I wanted to see from the studios. Right. And I never knew how, and I tried to explain to people like, this is what I've always wanted to see. It would be great in there. And then, some troll would argue with you in the thing and you end up fighting for 12 pages of the thread. It's just like, it just gets real ugly and nasty. It's just like the internet at its worst.
Oh yeah.
And I got tired of arguing with people about it. And I just wanted to show people, I wanted to create it myself. So I took on it's like, well, show me, you know what I mean? Like, why don't you do it, smart guy?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you prove yourself? And so I went out with the idea to prove myself that I knew more about Friday the 13th than I thought the studios did.
Right.
Honestly, I was like, I think I know better. I'm going to create something that I think is better than what they can create. And I'm going to try to do it. How do I do it with no money?
Yeah.
And that was the only, and then, I did my research. It's not like we get into fan films without doing our research on the subject.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's, we did our research and I saw what the rules were. And I just tried to do the best I could. And that's all anybody really can do. Like, making a fan film is really throwing caution to the wind. You don't know if anyone's going to sue you. You don't know if you're ever going to get that cease and desist. And it could come at any time. It could come now.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I just made them. How do I mean, I think that I would,
if it came now, you'd be like, okay, we need to have a talk because let's just make this thing official.
But I think I would just still release it anyway. I'll release the private download
Vimeo link. That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, here, just come here. I'll put it on my Facebook. I'll email it to everybody that back. Like, I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people get what they paid for. And really, like, when you think about it, it's a group of people coming together and pooling their money.
Yeah.
Like you could for anything. You could pool your money for a trip. You could pool your money to build a statue of somebody. You know what I mean? Like, what's to say, why are you going to poo-poo on fans getting together and saying, hey, we really like this take. Yeah. We're going to give this guy from from Los Angeles all this money, and we're going to sit back and in a year and a half, he's going to give us a movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a cool adventure. And if you got the money and that's how you choose to spend your money, well, how are you going to judge people for doing that? Like, that's the choice that they make.
And the thing too, and now of course Cecil has
and they get a ton of stuff in return.
Well, exactly. Yeah. They get all the, the perks that come with it. But it's about, it's about earning that trust with your backers and your viewers as well, right? And you showed what you could do with the first Never Hike Alone. You continued that with Snow. We did it with Billy. Cecil's done it with, Dylan. And now there's a certain level of trust. That doesn't mean everybody's going to like what you do. And I say this all the time on my channel. It's art. And, you do the best you can. As you just said, we showcase what we want to see, what we imagined, where we wanted the story to go. That doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with us, right? There's going to be some people that go, well, I don't think that would have happened. I don't like this. And that's fair. That's what you do. You make a movie, you put yourself out there, you let the chips fall where they may. But it's about earning that trust and showcasing, what people can expect from myself, from you, from, Cecil moving forward. You can expect this level of, quality, this level of professionalism, this level of storytelling too. I think there's a maturity to the way that we tell the stories as well. And I think that helps to create the illusion of it being real. You know what I mean? And yes, having, of course, franchise alum certainly helps, but you can have franchise alum in a really poorly put together fan film as well. And it's probably not going to make much of a difference. Having them,
there's no guarantee. The only guarantee is by making something that's worth watching, and whether it's a fan film or it's original, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like, and sometimes, like, you can look out there, and I would say, you reminded me of times when, like, you could see fan films sort of reaching for fame, reaching for something that just sort of, you have to earn.
Right.
You can't buy it. You know what I mean? You can't buy anything in this industry. I mean, like, talent is talent, and what's good is good and what's bad is bad.
Yeah.
And people want to watch things that are good, and people can, polish a turd and say something is good till they're blue in the face. But
I've seen a lot of turds polished.
Yeah, no, I think over the years we've seen plenty of turds polished, from the beginning of time in cinema. But I think it's the attitude. Yeah, but I think it's the attitude too. It's like, it's this attitude that, like, I think there is something special about creating any type of film, any type of production, or even a fan film, and being proud of the fact that you got together with a bunch of people and you did it. But it doesn't make you better than anybody else. No. And it doesn't make you, not at all. You all of a sudden don't have a signature that's worth something, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, I really do believe that. I think if you're making fan films, there's something that you sort of have to be like, almost like a college athlete prior to the current state of affairs, where they can get NIL deals and all that stuff.
Right.
But in the sense that sort of you're participating, you're there for the love of the game. It's like the Olympics. You know what I mean? You're just there because you love the sport. Yep. And you're not there to be famous. You're not there to do anything. You're there to compete. You're there to tell a story. You're there to entertain people.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're right back in the crowd. You're just like everyone else. You're a fan like everyone else, because no one's paid you, from an official studio to do these films. And so until you actually do those things, I find it very appalling when I see, fan filmmakers out there, charging for autographs and doing things that, just sort of like kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, if you haven't done it professionally
Yeah.
and you don't have something to kind of lean back on, you should probably, check the ego down a little bit and, go out and just want to share it. I mean, and that's my favorite thing about doing, is like, I like going to festivals and conventions to just show the film. And, if I bring stuff to sell, if you're going to give me money, you're going to get something. And what you give me is going to help me make more into the film, into there. So I don't know. I think it's very silly for people to sort of like try to profit off it in the end. I'm a big proponent of like putting ads on fan films too. I've been in a couple of fan films where I've seen the filmmakers put the ads on, and I'm like, oh man. And a lot of the times it's out of their control. Like with Dylan's, I like, as soon as I saw like ads started coming up, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he was like, it triggered a song. Like a song got triggered.
Actually, that's a good segue. You'll notice, actually, if you don't have the YouTube Premium, you'll notice that when you watch It's Me Billy on YouTube, there are ads. And I've had people say, ads, what's going on? Are you making money off of this? We're not making money off it at all. It's not going to us at all. We made a choice, and we knew that this.
Did you use piece of the score?
Well, what happened, and we did this deliberately, like we knew that this was going to happen, but we felt so passionate. Well, maybe it was more me. I don't know. I don't want to speak for Bruce himself, but it was very, so towards the end of the film, when Sam is in the attic and there's the record player that's playing, it's the same, it's a rendition of Silent Night, but it's the exact same version of Silent Night, not just the same song, the same version that was in the original film. Now, it's very quiet in the background. You can hardly hear it, but it's there. And YouTube picked. Now, we are allowed to use it through the YouTube monetize. I think they have like it's through Warner Music, something or other, like whatever it is. And but the thing is that when Warner first picked it up, it would only have an ad during that spot, and that was it. And that was like, well, it's not bad. It's just during that spot. Well, that was 3 years ago. So now
now
they're
getting a little bit more greedy.
Now they're getting a little more greedy. So we're not making anything from that at all. It is out of our hand. That is a decision that I knew was going to happen. But of course, at this time, you don't know if you're going to get a chance to make another one. You don't know what's going to happen. You hope you will, or like whatever the case is. But that is where the ads come from. If you're watching It's Me Billy on YouTube, if you have YouTube Premium, then you don't have to worry about that. And there's no ads at all. But I just want people to know that, speaking of ads, that was a good segue. I want people to know that it was a conscious decision we made, because we wanted the authenticity of that callback and that song. But I can tell you that going forward for It's Me Billy Chapter 2, there will be no ads because everything, because it will all be, that song will not play again and whatnot. But the movie's also on Vimeo as well, so you can watch it there without ads. And a lot of people now have the YouTube, Premium, so they're not going to see it anyway. But I just wanted people to know that we are aware of that, but it's not for us.
Yeah, no, I was surprised. It reminded me too, because now I've seen it with a couple of other things that we put on the page, and I go, oh yeah, I guess that. And I'm glad that we pretty much always used all original music on the Never Hike stuff, so we've always been able to just stay ad free and keep it that way for people. And you actually made me think about something else, which was, and let me get my brain back to it, but about fan films and something that sort of that people give them, that sort of criticize them for. And I just had it and then I lost it again, of course, because, ADHD brain kind of going that way.
Well, let me just say this, and maybe it'll come back.
Go ahead,
to you.
And I'll think about it for a second.
Yeah. We actually did reach out to try and get the rights to actually use this song. But it was just going to be way too expensive. So we were like, okay, it was a sacrifice we made. People loved it. Like, when they heard that song, they're like, oh my God, that's the same one from the original. That's so amazing. So it really resonated with fans. It was really worth it. But yes, if you do not have YouTube Premium and you watch It's Me Billy on YouTube, you will notice ads throughout, but it's not because we're trying to make money. We didn't place the ads. ads there. It's for that
and you're not
song.
getting the money from it anyway.
Not getting the money from it at all. And but it was a sacrifice we made, and because it was important to the, and it plays really well, and it really hit fans. They loved it. They thought it was great. But yes, chapter 2 will not have will be all original, so there will be no ads.
And that's why it's so good to own the hard copy and the Blu-ray, because you don't have to worry about ads.
That's
and
right.
You can have your own personal copy.
That's right.
If YouTube ever goes tits up,
that's it. Do I have?
What I mean?
No, here it is right here. So that's right. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm just saying, shameless plug. There's chapter 1 right there. No ads. Just saying, no ads.
No ads. It's beautiful HD. No interference
ads.
when the Wi-Fi starts to cut out. No pixelation. Just straight good stuff.
No.
And so I did remember what I was going to
Perfect.
say about something that I've heard, which I see like, well, these fan films are taking up space on crowdfunding, and the original projects aren't allowed to shine through. Let me tell you something.
What?
It's not the fan film. You ever hear that? Like, oh, well, they take up space, or like people are putting money in fan films rather than putting it in original productions. The only reason why people aren't putting money in your original production is probably because your production is probably not good enough. And it's not doing what you need to do to sell it to people, because I've seen plenty of people go on to Indiegogo with original projects and make money.
Yeah.
And make enough to make their films, and know how to budget them to realize that maybe asking for $50,000 for a feature film probably isn't the best thing, because people know it's not going to be a great film. You know what I mean? They know that they're not going to get, quality stuff there. But if you're doing shorts, or you know what you're doing, you can do that. And honestly, I think that fan films help the cause, because fan films introduce a lot of people to the aspect of crowdfunding, which is something that people are very hesitant about, because they look at the campaign and they go, wait, there's a possibility that this might not get made. What if I give my $10? What if I give $100? What if I give $1,000 and the film goes, it crashes and burns, which we've seen multiple fan films do. We've seen multiple original films do as well. And whether they've raised $10,000 or $2 million, we've seen it happen at all levels. I mean, people who helped raise $1.2 million for the Axanar film back in 2007 for Star Trek fan film that started like the legal rights issues, battles in the public. Think about it. They gave money to a $1.2 million film, and they never saw that money again.
Yeah.
That film got taken by CBS, got taken by the legal fees, and they ended up making $50,000 entries to like for each one, because that's the rules that they wrote.
That's right.
So, you know what I mean? I would say if anybody is pirating or taking anything from the original franchises and profiting off of them, it is the studios who, get to make the ads off them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're making ad money off of something that they own.
Yeah.
And they're making money off of it. Or, it's what was it? Who else? They can make money off it in other ways. Like the actual filmmakers don't get to do it. And that's sort of the way they do it anyway. Even when they stream now, like that's why we're striking. You know what I mean? The reason why people are so mad is because stuff that's streaming right now, that's not like that money's going to the filmmakers either. The streaming companies are keeping it all. They're not paying people. They're not paying residuals. Yeah. You see that the residuals people are getting for some of the most famous movies in the world, and they're like nothing. Mm-hmm. And they're being played for millions and millions and millions of hours. Yeah. And the people who actually made them aren't profiting, but the people who are sitting in offices like, on Wilshire Boulevard, who didn't do jack shit to get half these films made, or any of the films made really, are just, walking away with $35 million a year as their like yearly thing, just to collect as many things that have been made not by them as possible. Like
just
it's
to sign as many licensing deals, basically.
Yeah. I mean, who signed the most licensing deals, just prop it off and then like kill projects and get tax incentives, whatever it is. But what I'm saying is that people, like, fan films are not anyone's enemy. It's just something else out there that's for people to entertain. It's just,
that's it.
You know what I mean? It's just like anything else. It's just that they've just gotten better in the last few years. So now there's more people talking about them because the quality of, camera is better. The quality of filmmaker is better. The ability, we're growing up in a digital age where screens are in front of our faces all the time. I mean, literal soccer moms are becoming TikTok queens because they figure out how to cut on their phones. You know what I mean? It's just a new age where we're screen, visuals are all done by the screen. We're making mini movies all the time. Right. That's all social media is now, is all us making our own little short films, 30 seconds at a time. Yeah. So
something I wanted to, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm basically done.
Okay. Getting off your soapbox now. It's okay. I have like 9 soapboxes every stream, but, I just want to say, I agree with everything you've said. And another good point to make too, is that if you are a filmmaker who is wanting to crowdfund a fan film, and I know that everything I'm about to say here is easier said than done, but it is important to note as well that, I've had a lot of people, again, when Bruce and I made the decision in 2019 to tackle Black Christmas, we did it because we are Canadian from Toronto. Black Christmas is a Canadian horror movie shot in Toronto. We loved sort of the, romanticism around that. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not low-hanging fruit. So we needed to be able to prove ourselves and get people to come on board and believe in us. You have to have people believe in you. You are a product. It's, when you don't, when you don't have anything to showcase immediately, you are a product. And that's why it's really important that when you have like a good, to have a good teaser, a good sort of like spec, maybe like 2-minute sort of thing to help sell your idea and your concept. It's got to be as professionally shot as possible. It doesn't have to be shot on the red or the airy, of course. You save that maybe to, for the actual film, if you're able to raise that much and hire the right people and the crew and all that kind of stuff. And but it's got to look good. It's got to look polished. It's got to be an example of what you are, a small example of what you're about to bring to the table. And but you've got to get people to believe in you. I've had people, I don't know about you because you don't have a show on YouTube. But for me, I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, Dave, not the biggest Black Christmas fan, but I really love you and what you do with your channel. And I just want to say thanks. So I'm going to support and buy a Blu-ray or, whatever. I believe in you guys. I've had a couple people say, you know what, not the big Black Christmas fan. I wasn't a big fan of It's Me, Billy, not because it was bad or anything, just because I'm not a big Black Christmas fan, so I don't really kind of, connect with it, but I'm going to buy a Blu-ray anyway because I love what you're doing and I believe in you guys. That is huge. That's huge, to get people on board to believe in you because you are the product. I mean, you're part of that. You are the product, you know what I mean? And you're a salesman and you've got to be out there all the time, every day. People have to buy into you, not just into the idea in the film. They have to believe that you're the right man or woman or anybody in between. You are the right person for the job. You know what I mean? And to be able to bring this idea, whether it's Never Hike Alone, Tom Matthews, Jason Voorhees, why is Vincent DiSanti the right guy? There's lots of people. Why is he the right guy? Well, they got to buy into you. They got to believe into you. And you're out there and you're selling. You're saying, here's why. Here's what I'm doing. You're laying it out. Here's the trailer. Same with It's Me, Billy. Listen, this is why Bruce and Dave are the right people for this job. You got this, you got this, and this is why. Here's what we're doing. They're investing in you, not just in your movie and your idea, but in you as a filmmaker. And that's huge. And I see a lot of people that just think they can put up, an Indiegogo campaign and let it sit there. Folks, the real work begins when that campaign is launched. I know there's a lot of hard work that goes into prepping a campaign and getting the campaign ready between the graphics and the perks and the this and the that and getting people on board. I get all that. It's a lot of hard work. But when you launch that campaign, that's when the work doesn't stop. You can't just launch a campaign and sit there. You've got to be.
You better get ready for a year worth of work. You know what I mean? Like 100%. You're going to be working for a long time.
Yeah. Bang on. Anyway, I just wanted to say that it's huge. People need to invest in you as well.
Yeah, no, I think there's that, but it also starts with you investing in yourself. You have to be able to show people that you invested in the project. So when you come out to them and ask them for money, that what you're showing them is something of quality to say, here's a sample of what we're going to do.
That's right.
And it looks like you've invested time, effort, money, and something they go, oh, okay, yeah, if that's what investing into you looks like, then I'm going to do more. And so that's why, the work really starts like in the prep, for getting ready for there. It's like, that's just when it all kind of goes off with a bang and you just start working 10 times as harder. But that prep work, I always tell people, like, take as much time as possible. You don't want to rush into a campaign. You can't just walk into a campaign and be like, I got a hockey mask on my stuff. I'm going to tell a Jason story. Give me money.
That's right.
You have to show them something that, like, you have to show them a costume that looks good.
Yeah.
And a good costume costs money. And so you got to spend time building that and making it look good. And it may be years of experience that you've invested being a cosplayer,
right?
Going out, trying new Jason costumes, doing things like that. And then then building a costume is only one part of it. And that was an investment. Now you have to make that costume look good on camera.
Yeah.
So that's an investment. Going out and working on films and finding people who can, come out and film with you that make your product look good, or you need to learn how to make it look good yourself and either invest in equipment or invest in renting equipment and spending the time to get good at using that equipment.
Yeah.
That's all the investments you need to make in order to step up to a campaign, present something that looks like it's palatable to audiences that they want to get in on board of it. And then when you're telling your story, when you're sitting there on Indiegogo and you're making your pitch video and you're saying, hey, my name is, and my goal is, and my journey is, and here's what we're going to do, that people are going to believe that you have the ability to follow through on what you say you're going to do.
Bang on.
And I will tell you how many of these fan film critics, there's two types of fan critics. There's the people who say that like we shouldn't be doing it. And there's the people who say like, what, I could do that. It's so easy. A lot of people who think it's really easy just because it's a fan film. And I would just say that no production is easy. No. I've worked on original stuff and fan film stuff, and no production, like no one is harder than the other. I will say when you've established a brand, and we have done with Never Hike Alone, it is easier for me to raise money because we've established a brand and we're tapping into a market. But I would say that with our original stuff, once we started establishing ourselves there too, with some of our smaller shorts, starting with Pathosis, we did the Imagine project, we did the Judy project. Recently, we did Bath Bomb and raised over $25,000. So we're slowly and steadily, getting our credibility up in the original market too, which is always a plan. It's just taking a lot longer.
Yeah.
And why not take the opportunity?
Sorry, I just wanted to say I think the DP on Bath Bomb is a Canadian DP, right?
He is. He filmed Cabinet of Curiosities for Guillermo del Toro.
I'm pretty sure, because when I saw his photo, I was like, he looks really familiar. When Bruce and I were at the CSC Awards in May of 2022, because Billy was nominated for a CSC Award, which is amazing, he was there, and I think I don't know if he won or if he was just introducing somebody who won or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it was the same guy. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. But again, it goes to show you, right? You get it, just it's a big business, but it's a small business at the same time.
Oh, too. And Colin Cooper is another Toronto native. He's the director of the film. I met him at Film Quest in Utah. We've been friends ever since.
Cool.
And it's and honestly, like, again, just going on the journey of filmmaking, it allows us to meet people. Like, I didn't make Never Hike Alone. I was at that Film Quest because Disappear music video got in. Right. And it was sort of like a carryover from COVID in a weird way. Like, they had been delayed a couple of years. And then one day I got an invitation from Film Quest saying, hey, you got a script and a music video in. And I was like, wait, I got a music video in? What did I do? Oh, yeah, Disappear. So, and it just so happened that, I wasn't there to like, I wasn't there expecting to collect any awards or do anything like that. I just wanted to go out and have a good time because I've always wanted to go to Film Quest, and you end up meeting people and building those things. And these films are helping us build communities. Yeah. And I feel like we have a really good independent community bubbling up from, this community of fan filmmakers and filmmakers from around the country that see each other at, different conventions and film festivals, all over the world, really. I mean, hopefully we start to be able to do that. Yeah. And it's just like, it's just, this is the way that we work our way up. And a lot of us have, dreams to work in bigger markets on bigger films. I certainly do. I want to progress my career in that direction. And I think it's kind of cool that I got my start in fan films because I got my start in doing something that I really love. That's it. And I love these stories and I love these characters and I love the experience. Oh, and to comment on one of the things you said before, like, oh, you got Tom Matthews. Is Vinny the right guy to be the guy to tell the story with Tom? Well, look how excited Tom is to work with me. It's one of those things that's sort of like I realized along the way. It's like I was energized because Tom wants to do it. And so when you see your alumni getting excited about what you do and wanting to be there, same thing with Miko and Dylan's, when he really saw that there was something there for him to do and we were able to create something for him to really like say something with. It's across the board. It's seeing that like these alumni believe in the people that they're working with, and that's another reason and just cause to want to jump in, because the people that were actually involved with the franchise still want to keep it going just as much as we do. Right. And it's out of their control. I think about what we did on like the Jason Rising project, which was really, amazing, which for years, Adrian King had been talking about, Alice never died, Team Alice, bring back Alice. And so studios were never going to do, but what did a bunch of, a couple of guys from Portland, who put together a fan film with no real rhyme or reason to sort of get it to that level of where it got to. They just had a good idea.
Right.
It manifested into that, and it created, like, I mean, think about it. You're a fan of the series. If you decide to make a fan film, by the time you get done with that experience, you've now worked with Adrian King and Amy Steele.
Yeah.
And so that's a great experience. You know, they got to work with the actual Pamela head from the first movie. They used it in the movie. They found the guy who has the prop and they put it as an actual prop in their movie. Think about, as a fan, if you wanted to touch and work with that head, somebody actually mails it to you.
Right.
Like, that's an experience. And I don't know, you can't really argue with that. And it's like, if you're mad at people for manifesting that into their lives, that's your problem.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten a chance to do some really cool things with these things. You know, getting to meet our heroes. I'm sure, you know, you being able to bring them on to It's Me, Billy must be like, oh my God, like, here we go. I'm, you know what I mean?
It's wild.
But now and it is a big responsibility. It's like, am I the right person to do it? Well, you'll find out on October 13th. That's for sure. But, you know, I think that, you know, Tom wouldn't have said yes if he didn't want to do the project.
That's it.
And I'm not a millionaire. I can't throw a bunch of money at him just to bribe him to be in the movie. Like, if he wants to be in this movie, I have to write something that he wants to be in, because he's not getting, you know, a huge payday from it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it excites me to see how excited he gets when he gets updates about the film. When we get on set and he gets out there and, you know, I see him giving it all to, like, do his lines and go through the action and do all that stuff. It's cool. It's like getting to see my hero back out there, you know, after all these years.
Well, he's reading lines that you've written.
I know, reading lines that, you know, I've written, and it's crazy. And, you know, as I'm watching Never Hike Alone 2 and editorial and reviews, sometimes I forget, like, I don't know, there's a weird part that, like, once they say it, it almost becomes theirs, and I forget that I wrote it.
Right.
Like, I kind of sit back and I just want to be able to watch it, be like, this is real people having a conversation. And even though I wrote these words, all of a sudden the way that Tom interprets it, or the way that Vinny interprets it, sort of, it all of a sudden becomes their own, but all of a sudden they become these characters that I just gave them the seeds for, and they bring them to life. And that's what's the enjoyment for me, is that, like, is seeing these actors come to life on screen. And that's the one thing I think I'm proud of the most in Never Hike Alone 2, is the fact that everyone really came to life. Everyone is a real character. It feels like they're real relationships all across the board. And then the story takes place with real people, and it never really sort of goes into like weirdo land, I guess you could say. It just sort of like stays true to like a true blue you know, film that you would expect from the franchise.
Well, you've managed to, at least what I've noticed is that you've managed to, with the first one with Snow, I'm sure the same thing follows with part 2, is you've managed to create, like, without losing the DNA of what a Friday the 13th movie is, but you've also, it's also not, although I don't know about 2, you couldn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing I've seen in Never Hike Alone or Snow that is, you know, overly cheesy or campy, or there's a maturity to it. You know, it feels modern, but you still have the Friday the 13th DNA there. And I know that was very important to you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it gets a little cheesy in, like, the first movie in the ambulance. And I feel like, I don't know, I just wanted to, a little bit. But
I don't know, and
I did that purposefully, like, just because I wanted Kyle to wake up in a Friday the 13th movie for real. Like, there's all these alternate stories in my head where, like, no, he actually died and he woke up in, like, a hell that is all these Friday the 13th characters that have died from over the years, and they're all stuck in this perpetual, like, cycle of death that they can't get out of. And that's what the curse is.
That's it.
I was like, but I don't have the time to write the mental hoops that would have to make that work. But sort of that I wanted him to sort of wake up in a pseudo Friday the 13th sort of setting.
Right.
And then as I went forward, I was like, you know what, the less goofy it is, but I think there's still humor there. I think there's still room for comedy. There's definitely some comedy in Never Hike Alone 2. I think characters, in the sense that they're likable and they're funny and they're, you know, they're goofy, not goofy, but they're sort of just, I don't know, they're just well-meaning people who are living their lives.
Right.
And, you know, they're real people that have real, you know, they've been working together for a long time, in sense, because a lot of the characters are people that work or have something to do with either, you know, the Wessex County Medical Center or the Sheriff's Department. So there's people that are sort of like been working side by side and have a shorthand and sort of have a camaraderie to them. And I think that The actors did a good job of pulling that together, but that's probably because a lot of the people that are involved with the project have been involved with Womp Stomp Films for very many years. There are people who we've either helped on projects or they've helped on projects. And it really is that big community. Like anyone who has helped me along the way sort of found their way into the movie. One of my favorites is, Brian Chenoweth, who plays security guard Justin Sabo in Never Hike Alone 2. Brian, all the way back in 2018, 2019, was the person who took the original test shoots for Never Hike in the Snow. And he was supposed to be originally cast in the role of Mark Hill, because Mark Hill was a husband who went missing and not a son. And then throughout the summer, I came up with the idea of like, oh, it'd be more powerful if a mother lost her son. So I switched the role, and I had to tell Brian, hey man, I'm sorry, but I've changed the role and you're too old for the role, and I have an idea of who I'm going to cast, but I promise you, I will bring you back into the loop when the time is right. And when another character came up, I was like, I owe Brian. Brian helped me out that day. I was able to create these great images with Ashley Covington. I was able to use that to sell Never Hike in the Snow, to raise enough money to get the actual film made. And so the people who went out of their way, he took a day off from work, or like he took a day off on his Saturday, could have stayed home, watched college football, or, watched basketball, or done something else during the winter time. But he came out in the middle of the winter, ran and dove in the snow and did all this stuff with us, and got stuck on the ice with me and Ashley, and spent an entire day just having fun taking photos.
Yeah.
And, that means a lot. If you invested time into my journey, then I'm going to invest time into your journey. And that's it's just goes both ways. For sure. And so it was nice to be able to do that for people. And to say, hey, you know what, I got an opportunity. Who's somebody in my history that has gone out of their way for me, right? And who is looking for an opportunity, and who I think who would also fit the role. Yeah. And there's also that, like, I just don't throw things at people because I know them. I throw things at people because there's something about their character, or there's something about the role in the film that reminds me of them, that says, you know what, this is them and they helped me out, so this is their role, and let's bring them in. Right. And I think being able to pull like Luciana Fallhaber back in from Pathosis, and worked with her on a few projects now. And I had this like little role, and it's like, Lucy, like usually we put you in the lead for something, but to give you a supporting role in this, it's it's nice seeing you up there. Right. It's nice knowing that the family is on screen, that somebody that I worked with, somebody that I have a working relationship, that I intend to work with on future projects and more projects, is involved with this, even in a smaller capacity way. And it's like, it's like anytime I produce something, like sometimes I'm a producer and I'm helping write the script. Other times I'm a producer and I'm sitting back and I'm just helping do some logistics stuff, or helping with crowdfunding. And I'm not as involved, but any way that I can help the people who have helped me is usually my way of just sort of, I don't know. That's the way I like to repay people. If you help me out, I'm going to help you out. And that's who ends up working on a Womp Stomp film production.
Yeah. That's great. Well said. Well said. Let's talk about Dylan Zoo Nightmare. A little bit, because
what's up, Freddie?
That's out there now. Dylan Zoo Nightmare is out there. It is. I know it got age restricted, so I know that the views and the likes have sort of slowed down.
It's just too hardcore for you.
It's too hardcore, man. It's too hardcore. Blood, guts, gore, nudity, sexuality.
I think it's somebody going out and reporting the fan films. Honestly, I think that's what it is.
Really, you think so? Yeah.
I really think it is, because it's just so targeted. I think the way I see people get targeted and the way it happens, it's so weird, because I've seen other fan films that aren't age restricted, and then like the Ghost Cut's restricted, but Never Hike in the Snow and Never Hike Alone aren't. And so I don't understand how the algorithm is doing this. I feel like we've let algorithms and robots run way too many things.
100%.
Anyway, that's another.
Yeah, no, but I agree. I agree with that. But Dylan Zoo Nightmare, it's out there. I think it's got 120,000 views or something like that. It's doing really, really well.
It got 100,000 in the first 4 or 5 days.
It did.
So
it did. Yeah.
And then it got restricted and it slowed down. So it was really good. And it slowed down because of that freaking thing. But you know what? Like I told Cecil the other day, I measure the success by the way that it found its way into the trades. People were talking about it, and more people are talking about it, and opportunity is coming of it. Like there's things we can't really talk about right now, but we're getting the opportunity to really show it to new audiences, and we're going to have opportunities to really get it showcased in other ways. That is a good step for a fan film too. We're sort of like sort of stepping out of just having it stream on YouTube and do some things.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're getting like major network deals, but we're trying to figure out ways that we can get it in front of more eyes so people are aware about it and still find a way to make no profit off of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dylan's New Nightmare is a success from the sense that it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It looks great. Everyone did a great job. It was one of my favorite productions that I have ever worked on, but it's also starting to tread new ground in the fan film world of like what a fan film can do. And I'm excited, you know, when we get to sit down and talk about this, maybe in a few months, when we see where things go, but
yeah,
you know, it's opening up doors. And that's why we do these things. Like Cecil came to me in 2019 with a dream. I said, this is the path to get there. Let's start to do it. And now, you know, all these years later, he's sitting at the other end of it. And that was a 4-year journey. To think about how many people like could have given up in that time.
Yep.
And he didn't, and he saw it all the way through. I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of everybody who's involved in that project. I think that, like I said, when we finally all got to get together, it was a magical week. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of great memories. We all had a good time. I mean, I think some of us had a better time than others. Not all of us had to deal with a broken tooth the entire week. Ding, 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 ding. But yep. Even despite that, I think, you know, you still had a wonderful time.
I love though that you're so I felt kind of bad afterwards because like, oh, I hope Vince doesn't think that I was like trying to like blow him off or you know, I wasn't trying to like, you know, blow him off. Wrong choice of words, but you know what I mean. It was when the tooth thing happened, you came over with your phone and you had like the shot on your phone and you're like, yeah, dude, but look, looks good. Looks good. And I'm just like, yeah. And I just couldn't, like, you were trying to cheer me up with the way the shot looked. And it did look epic. The shot was epic, but I was like totally in my head at that moment because of my tooth had just fallen out. But,
no, I know. And I knew that you would come around because it's the way it always is. It's like adventures, like we always say, like adventures are never fun while you're having them. It's only when you look back that you can really enjoy them because of all the things that happen. But I really feel like aside from that, which is very definitely traumatic for you, as a producer, I feel like every day we got through everything we wanted to shoot.
We did.
Every day was jam-packed with stuff to do. And everyone had a great attitude. And I believe that everyone did a great job in what they were doing.
I think so too.
I'm looking, yeah. No, I think it very much, you know, just like any of the productions that we've been on, I think it's just, again, it's nice to be on that level, working with people who can all achieve at that level.
Right.
And, you know, and even the people on set who hadn't been on professional sets or had worked a little bit more green, like they all showed up with the right attitude. Everybody was willing to do something. When we're like, hey, we got to go move this stuff, 3 people got up and ran towards it. Like everyone was so excited to be there. And that's what you want on a set. You want that excitement because we work on professional stuff where people get paid lots of money to be like the laziest curmudgeons who hate life.
Right.
You know, they're like literally holding Henry Cavill's cape during like, I've been doing this for 35 years in the costume union. I can't wait to retire. This is my 8th Superman. Who fucking gives a shit anymore? Like, there's just too many people like that in the industry.
It's totally true.
You work on some of these things and you see somebody like, oh man, I could really use a water. And somebody's like, I'll get you a water. And you're like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like just that type of excitement, or just somebody who wants to be in the shot or do something. It helps you, you know, it helps us. And I think that like Dylan's really had that type of sort of environment. I think that the film, you know, I was just really proud of it, watching it go through the post-production process, and get a little bit better each week, get a little bit more polished each week. And then when I finally sat down to watch it before the week of the premiere, I just sat down. I'm like, wow, this is a long journey, and look at where it got here. This is a big, I mean, I love the opening shots.
Yeah.
I love the way it gets into the story. I think we did a great job with the dream sequence. I think we did a great job with the real world sequences. I think everyone did a great job with their acting. You know, the fact that we're able to put Ron Sloan and Cindy in there and really fill out some of the 2 more important supporting roles. You know, your performance as Freddie, which was so much hinged on that, knowing that we knew when we were there, we saw it. So it was really nice. I think the hardest thing about Dylan's was having to sit on it so long. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I remember one of the struggles being, I'll do this and I'll throw it to you. I remember one of the struggles, it being that like Cecil didn't want to show anything. Yes. And we saw those photos of you, and I just sort of,
I think you and I were the only ones that were like, no, we got to show that one.
And then we kept saying like, let's throw a heater at people.
Yeah,
let's right down a heater. Let's show the big. let's just challenge everybody and say, let's come with one of our best shots and show people what we've done. And I think that it will help you get the backing you need to finish this movie. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
And, it's really tough because it would be really nice if we could have sat back on our laurels and said, if you just trust us and give us the money, you'll get a surprise when you see Freddie. But I think being able to do that, and I think that was one of the first times I think with the Dylan's project, people went, oh, okay. All right. This is worth investing in. And that's what I'm saying, that you have to invest in yourself. And we were able to take the initial investment in Dylan's, create that product, and then to get post-production done, show you what we created with the physical production money. Yeah. And then we raised the post-production money based on what we could create it and prove to people that it would look good. And, I think that, mission accomplished for us.
No, for sure. And it's the same thing I was saying earlier when I said that you have to be able to, showcase something like a 2-minute, 3-minute specs, or whatever it is, that is in the spirit. I mean, no one's necessarily expecting you to go out and, you're shooting, your spec stuff and, your Indiegogo stuff on a red or an Airy or whatever. I mean, if you can, that's great. But generally that's not how it works, because you're trying to raise money to potentially do that. Not everybody does, of course, but it's got to look good. And it's got to be, as you said, it's got to be in the spirit of what you are presenting. You are showcasing yourself to investors. I mean, look at Indiegogo as one gigantic Shark Tank. Like, I mean, it's that's what it's your pitch. And so your pitch has got to be rock solid. And I think there are too many people that want to make fan films that think that if I just, as I said, I put up a page. I mean, how many, pages have you been to where there aren't anything even, there are no,
no art.
There's no art. There's no graphics. There's nothing there. It's just, it looks like I'm reading a medical journal out of something. Like, it's just so barren.
I'm reading a Microsoft Word document that my 8th grade, English report.
It's so barren, and then of course there are some that do it right, but it's you've got to showcase, man. You've got to put your best foot forward, because they need to believe in you. As you said, you have to show them why they should invest and believe in you. And just think of it as one gigantic Shark Tank, and you got one shot at it. Because the problem is that if you do it sort of not right, the first time around, you try to come back, I mean, it's just going to be a more of a difficult journey for you to try and convince. No, now you can trust me. You gotta, it's that first impression sort of thing. And it's really, really, really important. About DNN, I wanted to say that, again, I'm very thankful for all the positive feedback with what I did with Freddie and the character. It means a lot. Again, you can't please everybody, obviously, but the feedback, I think, overall has been largely positive.
Oh my God!
It's Robert or nobody.
It's Robert or nobody. It's Robert or nobody. That's right.
It's puppet is bones on strings. After he passes away, it's the only way we can do Freddie.
Even Robert doesn't think that. But it was.
Leave me alone.
That's it. But it was nice to see, and I'm just very thankful to Cecil, because I've said to him, and I don't know if I said to you, but I did say to him, I said, you waited. I mean, you could have shot this thing a lot earlier, but you waited, and I was the reason why you waited. And I said to him, I said, look, no hard feelings. I mean, if you had come to me and said, hey, listen, Dave, I love you, man, but we don't know when that fucking border is going to open. It's hell down here. Productions are beginning to open up. I can actually go we're ready to go, and the border is closed. I don't know. I said to him, I would have been disappointed, of course, but I said, I would not have blamed you if you had said, I'm going to have to move on. I would not have blamed him, but he didn't do that. He held out, and
I think for the right reasons too. And
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, again, like it was honoring the deal he made with you. Like, even if it was just a handshake to say, I want you to do it. And then the fact that, like, I think in a certain degree too was the fact that like bringing you on to the project, you have your own fan base, you're bringing your own people who expected you to see there, who invested the film to be
That's
there,
true
and it
too.
was worth it. And
Yep.
I mean, we really did bring it to a point where it wasn't just the safety aspects of COVID of why we weren't shooting, it was the money aspects of too, of not having to spend a ton of money on COVID protocols,
Yeah, fair enough.
which, you know, at the end of the day, you're just throwing a lot of money into a trash can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially for an independent production where everyone's getting together and everyone's sort of handshaking and being like, listen, we know what we're doing. And we waited till after all that stuff had cleared. We were clear of all that stuff, and all the money got to go into the film instead of into buying masks and PPE and all this other stuff that we have to get and, you know, and populate our set with just to make, you know, a few people feel a little bit more comfortable. We're able to just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think that, you know, at the end of the day, like it allowed us to sort of, you know, I think it gave Cecil more time with the project to think about what he wanted to do. It, you know, natural things that happened, even with, like I said the other day, like Miko growing the beard was a big thing.
Yeah.
Like it brought something to his character. You know, us being able to make some personnel changes and really sort of test the waters and upgrade in a certain area. And even just for Cecil to raise more money over that amount of time, it really did all in the end create the best product possible versus what we would have created, you know, any earlier, which would have probably been rushed. You know, I would have been trying to get it in between, you know, a Never Hike Alone 2, you know, project and trying to go there if that never happened. Slowing down was definitely something that helped the creativity in a big way.
Well, I mean,
and honest,
sorry, I was just going to say it was a fun experience to be able to showcase what I could do. I mean, I've said, you know, many times on my channel, I've been in the business for 22 years, but the vast majority of that has been as a voice actor, and voiceover, it is acting, of course. A lot of the principles are the same, but you're behind a microphone. But I started off as an on-camera actor, and I did commercials and docudramas and things like that. And then I broke my teeth, and I'm sure all my viewers know the rest of the story. But and then I got into VO and all that kind of stuff. But it was nice, you know. I saw it as a great opportunity to work with you, to work with Miko, to work with Cecil, and to flex those on camera muscles, and Nora too, of course. I can't, you know, leave out Nora. But to flex those on camera muscles that come naturally to me, but of course I just haven't been doing. And what better way to do it than to hide behind makeup? You know, to sort of get back into the game, but you're hidden, you know, but I knew.
But there's a lot of fun to that.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like when you're behind it.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. So how do you feel about, like, probably till the day we die, we're going to have people asking us where we're going to do Freddy versus Jason?
Oh, I know.
Well, I saw one pop up in the chat.
Yeah, we should get to the chat here in a minute, but
it's going to chase us forever.
Forever. Like, damn it. Forever. I posted that photo because I realized that we hadn't posted anything about it. I know there was those photos at the convention, but I don't think there's been anything. So what was it, like, you know, I guess a month ago, I took that one photo.
Ghost Jason was on set for like a day of Dylan's New Nightmare, just chilling behind in Village, and I was just in character. I didn't say anything to anybody for like 2 hours. Well, I was just kind of sitting there.
And the thing is too, is that, you know, because yourself with Womp Stomp, what myself and Bruce now with our production company, Dark Chapter Pictures, what Cecil, you know, has done as well and everything. I mean, we're now sort of setting a bar in terms of quality. And so I feel that if there was ever going to be a Freddy versus Jason, I mean, I'm not against it, but costs money, people.
I know that's going to cost a lot.
Well, I mean, I think to do it right, you know, it would cost a lot.
I think we would. I think honestly, the best avenue would be to really just kind of hyper focus it and do it, make it as a short. I don't think a feature would really be there. I think there's like these little segment shorts or something that would
I think
be fun.
What we should do is it should just be, I don't know, it's just like, you know, you open the film, there's somebody on their couch, they're watching a movie, maybe they're watching Freddy versus Jason, right? And then they fall asleep on the couch and they have a dream, and Freddy and Jason end up in their living room, and there's a battle between them in the living room. It's like a 10-minute short, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Maybe they just go all around the house. Yeah, something like that, you know, keep it really simple so it's not too crazy. But
we'll do that when we're all making real films and we got expendable cash and we can just sort of surprise people. Plus, exactly. I think that like
David Sandberg.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like Dylan's needs to finish its story too. I'm looking forward to seeing where that story goes. I know that we have a couple of different options based on sort of what manifests from, who we can get involved, who we can get, as far as like additional guest actors to play certain roles, and depending on sort of who can play what. I know that we talked about some really good stuff. I think one of the goals will be to sit down in a couple of weeks with Cecil, or sometime after Never Hike Alone too, and be like, where do you want to go with this story? Because what can we realistically produce?
Yeah.
How much do we think we're going to raise? Let's go after it. I mean, we have that great opening scene for the second episode. We at least know that. Cecil kind of let it slip the other day, but we'd love to look at possibly animating a Rex versus Freddy, short film.
Well, that's interesting.
Show the way that Freddy had to work his way past Rex first before coming out to attack Dylan, which would be a lot of fun. Or like even the fact that, I think at the end of Dylan's New Nightmare, we have that shot of him putting Rex on the end of the bed. Well, let's see what happens. Like now that sets up the fact that Rex is going to fight Freddy. So there's lots of things we could do, but all of these things cost money.
Yeah.
We're going to go forward with doing a Kickstarter campaign for Ghosts in the Fog so we can raise the rest of the money to get that film done.
Yeah.
We really want to test this horror and animation and being able to do some fan films and animation, which would be a great way to explore some of these stories so we don't have to physically fly to places or shoot in places, that they are productions that we can raise money for. We can invest into the technology and we can invest into the manpower and then get these things produced at a high level and tell even more story this way, which I think would be a lot of fun. And again, it's out of curiosity and it's sort of who else is going to do it. And if somebody likes it enough and it's that popular, then a studio can pick it up. But if we can make it available for free, if fans want to see it, they can give some money to us and we'll make it happen.
Well, that's it, right? I mean, it's if you want to see it, there are people that are willing to do it and provide it for you. It's just, there's a certain level of production value and quality that is now sort of in play, and obviously that takes money. And to your point with Freddy, and to do it right. In a Dylan's New Nightmare 2. Again, it depends on what Cecil's vision is, but I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money because, like him, I think his initial idea was to do sort of what your initial idea was to break it up into sort of episodes. But now, and to Cecil's point, I mean, it's taken so long to get this first one out of the way. He said, listen, I don't want to spend the next 6 or 7 years of my life doing, 4 or 5 episodes. I want to
crowdfunding with 20 minutes a year.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't I see if I can crowdfund it all in one shot and do like, a feature like what you've done and sort of just wrap up the story. I think that is the way to go. And I think that is exactly what Bruce and I would have done as well with Billy, had there been a feature-length film, more to tell. But obviously our story is basically one feature-length film, which would be, part 1 and 2 sort of together. Because I don't want to spend the next 5 or 6 years of my life wrapped up in Black Christmas either. So, but you know what, if the fans come out, if they like it and they come out and they want to support indie filmmaking and see where it goes, we're ready to do it. It's just, I mean, just to make me up as Freddy was thousands of dollars, between, the makeup and the molding and the casting.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, it's just me. And I don't mean me getting paid. I mean, to make me into Freddy is thousands of dollars.
The materials, the time, on the favors, getting things done, and like a lot of that. And honestly, like we're still paying a fraction of the price for what it actually costs to do those things.
Yeah,
because people are personally involved, and so you're getting people's love for the project. People who like Mikey Rotella, he's working on he works at K&B.
Yeah,
like he's working on he helped make Man Thing on Werewolves by Night. He's sculpted and molded Predators for actual Predator films. Like he's got plenty to do in his spare time, but when we're able to pull ourselves together and we can lean on Nora to say go talk to one of her friends who has a vested interest in wanting to create something Freddy related. That's the cool thing. You're giving artists chance to shine. Again, like, yes, we are the faces of these films. We're the ones who are out here raising money and being the salespeople of it, but we're taking the money, we're turning it around, and we're giving it to people who are very talented.
That's it.
And then creating things for you, the fan, and say, like, we have connections to people that are going to create things for you, but we need to pay them because their time is worth money.
Yeah.
And you're just trusting us to pick the right people to pay in order to create the product.
That's
And
it.
at the end of the day, we just become money managers at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Producers.
We're producers. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, that's sort of like the layman's term version is what a producer
Yeah.
is. They're a money manager. They're a
Yeah.
people manager. It's about building the team and building the resources. And that's where the funding comes in. And, whether somebody is donating to a fan film or original project, it's the same goal. And it's getting done the same way. And people are being, trusted with people's money either way. So whether it's a fan film or an original project, it really shouldn't matter.
No, it shouldn't. And I think, and obviously at any given one time, the rights holders to any of these projects, as you mentioned earlier, can come forward and say, no, ain't going to happen. I know that, I get asked all the time, well, not so much anymore because I've made it very clear, but why did you choose Black Christmas, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about that, but some people I think were surprised that I didn't choose Halloween. And I said, well, number one is that I knew entering into It's Me, Billy Chapter 1, I knew that one of the goals was to deliver a professional product through and through from top to bottom. And I knew that there was no way Malek Akkad was going to allow me to do that, because if I had done a Halloween fan film the same way I'd done Billy, then, hang on a sec here. There you guys are. Then, it would have looked like, the new movie that was about to come out, and Malek Akkad was not going to put up with that. I mean, we were shooting on the same,
right.
Cameras that they shot, that they shot the, Halloween, films on. So and he's been he has sent cease and desists to Halloween fan films that don't look anything near like a professional thing. So I just didn't want to get caught up in that. And that's why, I didn't do that. But anyway, the point I'm making is that, to your point, I think, there's a positive thing here as well, is that it is not only showcasing what we can do, but it's giving fans something that they've wanted, that they've never gotten, that the studios are likely never going to do. But it's also, as you said, it's keeping these beloved properties into the pop culture, consciousness, or resurrecting them from the dead and putting them back, at the forefront of everybody's conscious minds. And it allows people to rediscover these films and discover the older films, and going back to the originals and the OGs. And I think a lot of studios, again, as long as we're not, making money and we're raising $500 million, I think they see the value in that, and that it's actually a positive for them rather than sort of a threat, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think even like I know with Never Hike Alone, there's been a lot of people who, their kids watch YouTube, and they discovered Never Hike Alone, and it got them interested in Friday the 13th when their parents couldn't get them to watch a Friday the 13th film. They discovered something on YouTube. They felt like they discovered it. All of a sudden, they were interested in something that their parents discovered in the theater because they grew up during a different time period.
That's it.
So it is a great bridge for some of these, that, again, it's a sharing of fandom too. It's not just the filmmaking part of it. It's the fact that we are sharing our fandom with fans.
That's it.
And that we're all celebrating the franchises that we all grew up and love, and we're just trying to participate it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So it definitely does that. And that's why at the same time, like, we spend so much time out here marketing and raising money and doing those things, because it is expensive ventures. But we just want more people involved. Like, we want more people to see it. We want more people to back it, because that, that's more people watching it. That's more people enjoying it. That's more people talking about it. And it just keeps the fandom, not to say that like without fan films, the fandom would be completely dead, because it wouldn't, but it wouldn't be as fun.
No, that's right.
There wouldn't be as much to talk about, especially like in Friday the 13th. I mean, like, there would have been nothing to talk about. We had the game. In the last few years, we had a puzzle game, and we had another game, and both of them got killed by the lawsuit.
Oh, look what happened to Black Christmas.
I know. Look at Black Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, the films that have come out, the two remakes that have come out for Black Christmas have been, their own subject of like issues and things like that. So
they've been their own.
The fact that they're in their own thing, but the fact that they strayed away from something that fans really wanted to see, which is something that honed in on what they originally watched these series for.
That's it.
And so, if the studios had chosen to do that, you wouldn't be sitting here. If the studios had answered my call and what I wanted to see at a Friday the 13th, I wouldn't be here.
100%.
If people rally around what we do and they like it, then that's just a testament to the hard work that we put in, and the fact that other people agree with us, and the fact that, these are the stories that we want to see.
That's it.
And this is what they're going to invest in.
Yeah.
And that's all it really comes down to. We're not out here harming anyone else from doing their original productions. It hasn't stopped anyone else from, achieving their dreams in this world.
Not at all. Not at all. I think one of the biggest compliments, and that we've gotten so far on It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 is Lynn Griffin, who fans out there will know from the original and the Canadian comedy classic Strange Brew.
Yeah.
She's in that one too. But
great.
I remember when we casted her, she said after she read the script, she loved the script, and she says, now when I do conventions, I will have answers for people that come up to me and ask me, what do you think happened next? She says, well, now I have these answers. And just to hear her say that to us, like, again, technically,
here's the YouTube link,
right?
You know what I mean?
Exactly. But just to hear her say that, and how she to her, this is it. Nobody's done it. A studio hasn't done it. This is it. And because we're doing it professionally, and we're crossing all our T's, dotting all our I's, it was so important to her, and you could see that because it's her legacy as well. I mean, it was one of the first movies she had ever done. Lynn is one of the most iconic images in all of horror, which is in the rocking chair with the bag over her head. I mean, you don't have to be a Black Christmas fan to not have, we've all seen it. We've all seen, the image of
in the hallways of the rental shops, and the images over the years. It's one of the most famous horror images of all time.
And that's her. And to have her say, I love your script. I love what you're doing. Oh my God, I can't believe this is so beautiful. This is fantastic. I'm finally going to have answers to tell people when I go to conventions. I'm just like, that's wild. That's totally wild to me. And that right there makes it worth it. They recognize the love and the passion and how seriously you're taking it. And that's what it's all about.
Isn't it cool? The reverse sort of it's when you approach them, they are sort of on the mountaintop for you because they are your heroes. Same thing with me and Tom. Same thing in a few other, even like getting to meet Miko and do these things. And by the time you turn around on the project, they turn around and say, like, thank you for helping me reconnect with a part of my life and a character that I played that I miss playing, that I miss being. I mean, they come to conventions all the time and are reminded of this character that they played back in 1970, 1980,
Yeah.
Those were many, many years ago. So to come back and be able to sort of,
well, in a lot of ways, they were kids, man. They were kids, late teens, early 20s.
They didn't know what they were doing. They thought that it was just their first project on the way to being the most famous actor or actress in the world. You know what I mean? And then they live their lives and, they do different things, but there's something about the horror genre and the horror fan that like connects the actors and the filmmakers to their audience in a specific way, and the way that we connect and the way that we meet at conventions and the way that we celebrate even the silliest things sometimes. Like, we celebrate some of the silliest characters in horror films and anoint them as, their signature is worth just as much as, going to get, one of the most famous actors in the world, like Robert Downey Jr. is like, hey, I want Tom Matthews because Return of the Living Dead is my favorite zombie movie of all time. And that's it. I see these people as equals, especially in the horror world and the way that they connect. So for them to sort of now be able to come to conventions and not talk about the old movies, but talk about new movies that they've been in, new developments and what those experiences were like. And they don't tell the same story that they've been telling since 1993 when they started doing conventions, but they now have like, hey, last year I went out and I did this thing. Or, I think for me, like, I remember, I get like texts from Tom Matthews every now and then. Hey, I found another convention that wants to play Never Hike Alone, and I'm going to this and I'm going to that, and I want to take it with me and I want to show it. And it's like, this is so cool. Like, I went from a thing like, I hope Tom Matthews will want to be in my movie to like, now Tom Matthews is like one of my best promoters.
That's it.
And it's like running out and spreading the gospel on Never Hike Alone because he's having so much fun. So it really is sort of like a blessing in disguise when you turn around at the end of it, you realize that like we came to them to help us, but really in a way, like we're also helping them. We're helping them rediscover sort of partly who they are and a part that may be missing. Like in Tom's case, he really hadn't been acting too much when he was coming back on A Never Hike Alone. He had done a Western, He had done something else for another mutual friend of ours,
Yeah.
and he was just sort of getting back into it. But since then, I've just seen him sort of like his love for acting come back, and him wanting to get back out there and do more things and be more active, not only as an actor but as a producer. I mean, he's come to me being like, "Hey, I got the script, and I think it'd be great if we made this," and has thrown me different properties, and I've been like, "Oh my god, like this is cool!" Like,
That's really cool.
And it's a great mutual relationship, I think, for fan filmmakers when they connect with an alumni and they want to keep working with them. I think it's a really cool thing.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go over to the, I know some super chats came in, so let me get some of these super chats. I know people have been waiting patiently here. We got Gavin S. Sends in $5, says, hope you're well, Dave. You're the reason I furthered my understanding of the nuances and love for my favorite horror movie, Halloween. Peace and love. Well, thanks, Gavin.
That's nice.
Appreciate that, man. Really, I'm glad that all my craziness here on the channel has had a positive effect. Fast Forwards 289, one of our channel members here, sends in $4.99, says, what's up, Dave and Vincent? Loved both your fan films and can't wait to see the new ones and see how you continued the story. Thank you very much. Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait for people to react to us.
Oh, dude,
that's funny.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Fast Forwards follows up with $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, the quality of work that you guys do and how fan films are becoming, I think we're witnessing a new era of filmmaking that replaces or becomes the new Hollywood, which is cool. Great work, guys. Yeah, it's an interesting take. I think ultimately what you're seeing is, as Vince said earlier, the access to equipment today. Again, it's not easy. I mean, obviously, Vince and I work in the industry, so we know people and we have access to certain people and resources and connections that are more available to us than the average person per se that is not connected in any way, shape, or form. That's true, and that's not lost on us. But even just coming up today and shooting a movie on your phone, being able to edit it on your phone. I mean, back in the day when we were shooting films in the 90s as teenagers, it was tape to tape, VCR to VCR, editing, all that. I mean, just the
there was nothing we could really do to create something that would look even close to that.
Nothing.
You know what I mean?
Nothing. And here's the thing too. I mean, yes, Billy was shot on the Airy, and of course, we will continue to do that, obviously, to keep that sort of aesthetic and that continuity there. But if a lot of fan films will end up failing in the production value area per se, because of a lack of understanding of how to craft an image, how to craft a shot, blocking, lighting, things like that. You can make your fan film look pretty good on a DSLR if you understand how to craft your shot, how to light your scene, what lenses, to use, how to block your scene out, and audio, of course, as well. I mean, don't use the audio from the, built-in mic on the camera. And you can make it look pretty good. I've seen some films where I'm like, oh, this was shot on like the Canon Rebel, whatever. And it's like, it looks pretty good, and it's because it's clearly delivered from somebody who understands those things, how to craft, the shot, the lighting, thing. It's not just put it on a tripod and shoot, a master shot for 5 minutes. I mean, they go in for that coverage, which is very important as well. I mean, is it going to compare to the Red or the Airy? Well, no, but it can still look pretty good.
And if you're telling a good enough story, people aren't going to notice.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
People aren't even going to notice it. You know what I mean? If you can grip people with your storytelling ability and get them on the ride, if you can, like, a lot of the time cinematography doesn't need to be big and bold. It needs to be consistent.
Yes.
Consistency in cinematography is a lot more important than trying to go big. If you can keep a consistent, like, look at Clerks. Yep. Clerks is not shot with anything fancy, but it keeps a consistency. It sets a tone, and then it wins you over with its character and its charm and its humor.
That's right.
And so, and it's there's different modes of execution, but even Kevin Smith making that film, I believe in 1994, with the type of equipment that he had to rent was a lot of money, having to go get that film developed and cut it natural, like actually cut film.
I think he like maxed out like 4 visas or something like that.
He did, and doing it on his own, just to shoot something that looks of that quality. And now literally someone can go to Best Buy, buy a Sony, AS7 IV, put it on, cinematic mode, shoot 24 frames per second, and throw a good cine lens on the end of it and rent it all for less than a couple $100 on a weekend from a rental shop or a Sammy's Camera or, anything like that. And you can get something that looks like, amazing.
Yeah, you can.
Just like you can shoot.
It's unreal.
You can make things like, half of Never Hike Alone 1 is shot on a Sony AS7 II.
Yeah.
And we did it specifically because technology had come enough along. We had done our research. We, compared it to the Blackmagic. We compared it to the, the Canon 5S, Canon 5D Mark III, I think at the time. But Sony had the crispest sort of image. It felt the most cinematic. And when we paired it with the lens, I think we had Zeiss lenses that were, low end cine lenses. It gave us that was better than what Kevin Smith could use and max out for credit cards in 1994.
Yeah.
For a movie that's shot in black and white. And when I first found out about Clerks, somebody said they shot it with a security camera. I believed that for many years because it looks like it was shot with a security camera. It kind of does.
You know what? Now that you mention it, it kind of does look like that. Yeah, no, it kind of does. But no,
that costs hundreds of thousands of whatever. How that's crazy.
But you're absolutely right. It's and you have to have a creative vision. You have to have a creative direction for yourself as well. If you don't have that vision as a director in terms of your style, and look, you don't have to know necessarily what your style is. You might be in the process of discovering that.
But you have to discover it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you need to be consistent with that. So if you are, find your style, find a vision for the film and be consistent with it. And that's an excellent point, Vince, because, it would be, it's like you take, something like Never Hike Alone, you watch them and there is a consistent style with the cinematography, the way it feels, the way it flows, the shots, how the shots look, how the shots, are crafted lighting. The same with, Billy, the same with Dylan's New Nightmare. There's a consistency there. It doesn't all of a sudden change and we're handheld for no apparent reason. It doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. It's don't have a vision, have a shot list, which is really important. Know your shots before you go to camera, obviously. I mean, it should go without saying, but there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that just show up on set and then they figure out how to shoot the movie. You should never be showing up on set and figuring out how to shoot your movie. You should already know how you're going to shoot the movie. Maybe it's easier to figure that out on the fly when, it's just you and your buddies in your backyard. Okay, I get it. But when you're running a set like we're running, you can't do that. I mean, there's too much money, at stake. So, but yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Consistency. Discover your style, discover your vision, and be consistent with it. Don't try to be too avant-garde, or don't be avant-garde at all. Unless, of course, it's a story that requires that. But let me see here. Oliver Mercer sends in $5. Thanks, Oliver. Says to Vincent, does Corey Feldman know about your Never Hike Alone films? Plus, have you ever reached out to him at all? Great question.
Well, we were in 13 Fanboy together, but I didn't get to meet him. I don't know. I don't know if he pays attention to it. Obviously, there's a big ode to him at the beginning of the film. Maybe someone showed it to him. But I've never had a chance to talk to Corey, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. Will
Escredia in the chat says storyboards don't hurt either. That is true. That is true. There's definitely a few scenes in It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 that we are going to storyboard. And what's great too is that Bruce, he's a jack of all trades like I am, like you are, Vince. And he has storyboard and concept art experience. He went to school for visual arts. So I'm just like, that's great, Bruce. Well, you can storyboard it. And he's like, I'll get right to it. So yeah, that's true. Especially for scenes that may be a bit complex with the blocking or whatever. Absolutely. Storyboarding a scene out like that can help huge. You don't necessarily have to storyboard the whole movie. Some filmmakers will. I don't think it's necessarily, depending on what the film is, but certainly specific scenes or shots. Yeah, that can definitely help.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Speaking of Willis Greedia, here he is, sends in $2, says, despite public perception, I love your guys' work.
I think that's his own creation of public perception. Him and Cecil like arguing about his feelings about Dylan's New Nightmare.
Okay, his review on Dylan's New Nightmare. Oh, I see. Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, hey.
To each their own.
To each their own, right? I mean, it's, I haven't watched actually, CP's review on it, but you know what? I'll just say that, speaking objectively, we know this. You put art out there and you let the chips fall where they may, and some people will love it, some people won't, some people will be in between. That's just sort of, the nature of, the game. We always hope everybody loves it, but but that's not necessarily going to happen, right? So.
I mean, he reached out to me too, and we talked about it a little bit. And I think expectation, when it comes to Nightmare on Elm Street, we talked about it a little bit before. It's like the thing that makes Nightmare on Elm Street sing is the dream world and things like that. The dream world is very expensive, and coming up with dream world type kills and things like that, it's visual effects heavy. Those are things that cost a lot of money, and there's only so many places you can do that in independent productions. And with Dylan's New Nightmare only raising $60,000. There's a story to tell, and then there's a spectacle to give.
That's right.
And it's also a story about Freddy coming into the real world, which really kind of lends itself into those things. So there's certain things there, and I think that there's not a want or a desire to, expand the story into those worlds and do bigger set pieces. It's not that there's a want and desire to not want to tell more of the story. It's just, the budget dictates how far you can go, and you have to find very, specific places to cut the story off. So you're getting enough of a story told to you, but knowing that there's more coming. It was very much the same thing with Never Hike in the Snow, where it was, we know there's more coming.
Yeah.
We're cutting this off with a cliffhanger, but you got to treat this as if it's a pilot episode to the first episode of a season of storytelling.
Right.
So, it's sort of the way we kind of went about it. And then, it's not like all of a sudden, if you get a great idea in post-production, we're like, how we could finish the scene now that we're not going to be able to do this. Yeah, we came up with 1,000 of those ideas, but we had no money to shoot anything else. You know what I mean? To fly you back down, to get Nora back out, to get all the whole team back together, to bring that around. That's a lot of money. And we were trying to raise more money in order to come up with ideas to do that. But the crowdfunding only really kept up with the cost of post-production. So even though we all sort of talked about maybe adding something else or doing something else, by the time the resources, the ideas, and the things would have come together, it either would have been delaying the film a little bit more to try and raise more money and say, hey, do that. But at the same time, people had already been waiting 4 years. We felt like we had something that was good enough to show people. And then if we were going to do those things, we'd rather show what we had and then get the reception and take the good with the bad. But for the most part, it's mostly good.
Yeah.
Most of the reviews that we got have been great. And I can understand why people it's the same thing with Never Hiking Alone. It's like a lot of things that people had issues with. I'm like, listen, I agree with you. My budget only took me so far. My experience only took me so far, but I've learned from it. And the next time I go out, I'm going to do it better.
That's right.
And I think that if anything, my experience with Cecil throughout the entire process was that, Cecil came to me with the first script. We talked about it, we improved it, and we moved on. When we did the filming, it was the same thing. We talked about it, and he always listened, and he always sort of inched it forward better. And at the same time, he still held on to his own ideas and stayed true to the product that he wanted to create. And I think he did a really good job of it. And like I said, just because somebody doesn't agree with what you did or anything like that, nobody's feelings need to get hurt, and it's fine. And if you wanted more, or if you thought that there's other things that we could have done, I will say the same thing that I said to do that. If you think you can do better, by all means, go out and raise the money and do it. We did the best with what we had. I think that we did really good. And I'm ready to I think say well, if you had criticisms about the first one, let's see what happens when we get a little bit more money. Let's see what happens when Cecil gets a little bit more backing and a little bit more support from the fandom now that he's proved himself. and then judges on a second effort that, you know, now has a little bit more of those resources, and we can go and we may answer all of those questions because we have the same burning desire to do the same things that you want to see. We just haven't unlocked that level yet. You know what I mean? It's just that's what it comes down to. It's not a lack of desire or a laziness or not wanting to do it. We definitely want to do it. We just know how much it costs, and we don't want to fail going at something that we can't afford.
Well, that's it.
And really what it comes down to.
That's right. And when you establish yourself at a certain level of quality, right, there's an expectation there. And if you can't meet that level of quality, and I'm talking about everything, you know, if you can't meet it, then no one wants to deliver. Do you know what I mean? So there has to be there has to be consistency there now moving forward. This is the bar that's been set. So this is what has to continue. And and two, it's not about running out of money. I think that's one of the things that you know, I always say too, is that, you know, I had people say, oh, you know, the way It's Me Billy ended, it just ended like, I guess they ran out of money. And it's like, no, it was designed to end there. It's not like we were on set shooting and then we realized, oh shit, we don't have any more money to pay anybody. Well, let's just stop, you know, and everybody go home. You know, we didn't run out of money. This was the money we made, and this was the budget. This is how far it took us. And we had mapped out the entire story, and we realized that Sam's arc is incomplete. We realized that, well, hang on, how did the grandmother, she's in the basement. Well, that doesn't make it. Wasn't there a funeral? What's going on? What is it? Yeah, that, and if we were backed by a studio, you'd already be on to the next episode, bloop, bloop, you know? But unfortunately, the money we raised took us this far, and we thought, hey, let's end it here. Let's get people really excited about this potentiality of where it's going to go. And if people are, you know, we're going to take that risk. Oh, man, we're just going to, let's do it. We're all in. We're going to take that risk. And thankfully people, you know, again, not everybody liked it, but for the most part, I think most people did, especially if you're a Black Christmas fan. If you're a big fan of the original film, you will really resonate with It's Me, Billy. But again, It's Me, Billy's not cut from the same cloth as, like, you know, a Friday the 13th or, you know, an Elm Street. It's more of the slow burn, psychological kind of thing, right? You know, I've had people say, oh, there's not enough blood, there's not enough gore. And it's like, well, no, it's designed that way, right? It's more of the theater of the mind. But nonetheless, I agree with you. You know, it's if you like what you see and you appreciate it and you want to come back out and help us finish it, whether it's Never Hike Alone 2, which obviously people came out in droves, that's on the horizon the next, you know, couple of weeks to be finished. And by the way, folks, your last chance to get your name in the end credits is Monday, September the 25th. So if you want to get your name into the end credits, just even to get your name in the credits, I think it's like $10 or something like that, which is, I think
that's it. I mean, $10 just to get to get that. And then you get, you know, there's lots of other perks that are also very affordable. And there's also a raffle to win the Tom Matthews shotgun. That's right. Become an executive producer. If you get, you know, the Jarvis versus Jason perks, which there's a 8x10s, there's an 11x17 poster, there's a Blu-ray, and then there's a combo pack. And then if you have already backed the campaign, there are ways to upgrade what you've already purchased to get yourself a raffle ticket. We're going to select the winner next week, and we're going to announce it on Friday the 13th. Tune in, watch the film, and you could be an executive producer and discover that on Friday the 13th. Amazing. It's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see the face of the person who discovers that, and I hope they film themselves, because that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. That's, I mean, that's the joy of it. It's like watching fans flip out about it, which I think is like the coolest thing for us. It's cool. And it, you know, it's like the same thing I've been saying, right? You know, I mean, you know, we have Olivia Hussey coming back. She's one of horror's first final girls. She's coming back. This is like Jamie Lee Curtis being in a Halloween fan film. I mean, that is sort of kind of like, you know, the equivalent of here, right? I know Black Christmas isn't Halloween, and it certainly doesn't have the footprint that Halloween has, but that, you know, you draw that, whoever would have thought, nobody would have thought this. Remember, Black Christmas predates Halloween by 4 years, and Black Christmas and Texas Chainsaw, the original, because there's Sally Hardesty, of course, they were released on the same day. October 11th, 1974. So who's the first final girl? I don't know. You know, I guess we'd have to get down to what movie played first, you know, during that day, which I don't know. But we are releasing the first showtime. Yeah. That's it. We are releasing Chapter 2 on October the 11th, 2024, Friday, October the 11th. It was a Friday in 1974 as well. So we are releasing Chapter 2 50 years to the day. It's the 50th anniversary of Black Christmas next year. I mean, it's a
I mean, you know, who doesn't want to get in on that and get your name in the end credits? I mean, that's, you know, to be a part of something like that. Even if you're not a big fan, just have that on your shelf. Like, I made that possible. I made that happen. And then if you don't like the movie, you can give the disc to your dog and, you know, throw it as a Frisbee or something. I don't know. But yeah, there's lots to be excited about, you know, of what we're all doing or trying to do, and give something that the studios are likely never going to do. I don't think you're ever going to see a studio released Black Christmas film with Olivia Hussey back. I don't think that's ever going to happen. And when we do it, there'd be no point in doing it. They might as well just take what we've done and just make it canon then, and just release it onto Prime or, like, you know, what have you. I mean, at that point, there'd be no reason to redo it, because obviously, you know, but anyway, yeah. So make sure you get in on that, support Never Hike Alone 2. They're coming to an end now. Vince's journey is starting to wind down, while my journey is just in the process, beginning the wind down. He's at the end of his wind down. I'm at the beginning of my wind down. But
there's it's a long trip from, it's always that anticipation of wanting to shoot it and having those nerves about, will it look like the way I want it to look?
Yeah.
All that stuff. And then just the days, I think it's like the stress, man, the stress of like approaching shoot days and like doing and executing on the
Dude,
day. It's a lot.
I'm feeling it right now. We still don't have our SAG interim agreement. We are waiting for SAG. We want to go to camera at the end of November. We are building our contingency plan now. We don't know the stress that I'm feeling right now is like, fuck. It's just ridiculous. Okay. Super chat from Josh McKenna sends in $9.99. Thank you, Josh, and says, I think it's ridiculous. Some people get mad at you for wanting to raise money. Movies cost a lot. Besides, Indiegogo is fun. Stick to your guns in terms of the epic stream. Oh yeah, that stream that I want to do. Oh yeah, no, I will. If we, by the way, there's one associate producer perk left. One associate producer perk left. If we can sell that off, and I believe we've sold 222 of the double Blu-rays, which is, you get It's Me Billy Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 on Blu-ray. We've sold 222 of the combo pack. If we can get that to 303 or even 300, I'm not going to be a dick. If we can get that to 300 and sell off the last associate producer perk, I will do that epic Halloween stream on October the 28th, where I watch Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all in one sitting. Ooh. Or if we sell off the rest of the advanced screening perks. Do you want to see It's Me Billy Chapter 2 before anybody else? There's an advanced screening perk on my Indiegogo campaign. There's 22 of those left. If we sell those, I will do the epic stream. Or if we sell one more executive producer perk, I will do the epic stream. I'm trying to make it easy for you folks. Yeah, right. Whatever it is. Let me see here. And then Josh follows up with, I can't wait to see how many missing persons posters will be used in the movie. Yeah, I think we have about 12, I think, are going to be used in our film. So yeah, there's a lot of missing people.
Literally, I saw that name and I was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't recognize that name from a missing person. So I started going through my list. And I'm like, who is this Josh McKenna? And how did we miss his poster? Oh shit. Like, I'm over here trying to research. I didn't realize it was for your poster.
Yeah. No, we have, I think
so much better. Oh my God.
He really is missing. He really is missing.
Oh my God. How am I going to work him in? Because we did have some people. I actually did that the other day. We watched back through the film because, you know, we obviously hung everybody up and we put them in different scenes. But when you're shooting the scene, you're not like, well, we really got to angle this to make sure I got everybody in the background. You just got to make your movie. And I was like, you know, I have a feeling we're going to catch everybody. And we did do some coverage of stuff. But I did a missing persons pass on the movie. I watched through all the scenes with missing persons, and I checked names off of a list to make sure everybody was seen. And there was like maybe 4 names that weren't seen because they were either obscured or it just sort of got cropped off and we weren't really going to be able to see them. So, you know, I did a reshoot a couple of weeks ago just to make sure that those names ended up in, and we could we don't see one person, but I see another person 3 times. Right. So I was like, listen, I've already seen this person twice. Let's get another insert like of this person in there and make sure it's there. So it is we do try to make sure. I remember we were doing that on Dylan's New Nightmare too, when we were doing the headshots, and we needed to make sure, like,
yes, everybody was
just
in there.
Cut to shot of everything on the death.
No, it was a great way to do it. It was a great. No, I think we have about 12, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, and we know how we're going to do it. We just gotta. It's just funny because it's like, wow, there's a lot of people missing. This is quite the town.
I know.
I wouldn't want to move there. I Fuck.
A lot of people missing in Crystal Lake, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee the Machine Bowers, one of my channel members, one of my great supporters on chapter. I called him the Machine because he was such a great supporter to our Indiegogo campaign, and now he calls himself Lee the Machine Bowers. I love it. I love when things like that stick. He says, "Hey Dave and Vince, will you do a Blu-ray bundle with all Never Hike Alone movies? You kill it as." Oh, hey, Dave and Vince. Vince, will you do a Blu-ray bundle with all the Never Hike Alone movies? You kill it as Jason.
So there are currently 2 bundles right now. There's the normal bundle that has Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, Ghost Cut, and Never Hike Alone 2 that you can pre-order all at once. Yeah. You can also do that version with the Jarvis versus Jason Blu-ray, which gets you, and I may get you 2 raffle tickets for that one. Don't quote me. I think I put 2 in. So those are available. We will eventually down the line do a super cut. That's sort of like the goal for next year. Once we get all of this stuff shipped out and we do all that, I'm going to approach Indiegogo one last time to just say, hey, we want to do a super cut. We want to invest heavily in, for the first time ever in a Never Hike Alone, like go over the top with post-production, like maybe go back through the old films and re-clean things up and recolor and recut and do all these things and get professional title artists and do all this stuff and make one about 2.5 hour cut of Never Hike Alone with everything that we've done and release it as Never Hike Alone, the final cut. We would do that next year. And so all films would be basically in one sitting with a bonus disc. We do there, but you can do the box set of all the original stuff now. And what's nice is each Never Hike Alone disc comes with its own sort of proprietary like content, like different shorts and different commentary tracks and different presentations of the film. So it's definitely worth sort of having them all. And even if you have the last one, you have the final presentation of it, there's something about each film that leads up to it and the Blu-rays to own to say that there's something unique in each one. And that final one, we're definitely going to put a lot of work into making it special, raising enough money to get the red cases again, do a dual disc so you can actually get Never Hike Alone, the final cut, and then choose your disc of what your second disc is going to be, whether it's the original Never Hike Alone, whether it's Never Hike in the Snow or the Ghost Cut, whatever you want to put in there and pair in there, we'll do that. And so we're going to design a very special crowdfund next year that we think will raise a good amount of money. We'll probably end up in the positive for the first time ever. And then we can donate a lot of that money, or we can invest it into some other ideas that I have that will be able to, again, fans are just going to keep getting more stuff back. That really is going to be an investment for fans to go into that campaign as an investment in themselves, because the more they invest in the campaign, the better the perks are going to get. We're just going to keep improving and making the perks better. So that becomes the goal with that one, which will be a lot of fun. So then as a filmmaker, my product has a bunch of really good merch out in the world that people are wearing in public, like these sweet sweaters that are available on the campaign.
There you go.
Pretty rad logo. They're super comfy, things like that. But I think it's, again, you want people out there spreading the word. And the way to do that is to get more physical media and physical perks into people's hands that they're going to want to flaunt it at their Halloween parties, at their summer parties, that they're doing movie premieres and say, hey, I got this bootleg movie from YouTube that I can play that's actually a high quality Blu-ray DVD that plays just as good as something that I would buy at Walmart. So, definitely worth an investment. I'm sure the same thing with It's Made Billy. You're probably going to do a super cut at some point.
At some point, yeah,
at some point. But you've got to have the things that people support now, support those projects before you
invest exactly
in more things that take more money. It's just continuing investment and creating more.
Yeah. No, our plan is to release It's Me Billy Chapter 2 on its own as the short film that it will be. And then maybe in 2025, we'll think about combining the two together in the Billy cut or something like that. And
the big Billy cut.
The big Billy cut. It'll probably end. I mean, the first one's 38 without credits. The second one will probably be in and around the same. So it'll end up being like, 75 minutes or something like that or whatever. And
and for the people that say like, you invest this much money and you get all that money and you put it into a thing. So let's say you walk away with a 70, 75 minute, 80 minute piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Between both campaigns, how much have you raised?
Between both as of right now?
Yeah.
We've raised, between both campaigns, about $220,000 Canadian.
Okay, so an 80-minute
Canadian
feature film made for $220,000 Canadian. That's, again, I've been doing the calculations for people too, like thinking about it. Like,
that's
Never Hike Alone has done $450,000 in the last 7 years to make all of its productions, to make 2.5 hours of content.
Yeah. So 220,000 Canadian is 163,000 US.
Yeah. And again, the original Friday the 13th was made in 1979 for $750,000.
Yeah.
Not one drone shot.
No. That's it. That's it.
2009 was made for $19 million to show
75
people that, like,
drone shots. No,
that's the but that's the difference. I mean, we're working with, in 6 years, $450,000 versus 19 million and a whole studio backing you. But we're able to keep people just as entertained. I feel like that is a, us filmmakers doing it at this level. We're doing it with a lot less, but we're, to say that like it's easy, it isn't easy. We're working with a lot less resources, but we're just as creative, and we're even more creative because we have less to work with.
That's it. You want to go another maybe 10 minutes or so? It'll take us to 2.5 hours. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I think we could do the thing. I think it's about dinner time out here. I can go for a snack.
All right, sounds good. We'll take another 10 minutes, ladies and germs, and then we'll call it, because that'll take us.
Warning.
Yeah, 10-minute warning. It'll take us to 2.5 hours, which is good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Super chat comes in from Motorcycle US. Sends in $2. Says, Vincent, what is the different special TY and credit? Oh, thank you. And credit.
It's the same thing. I mean, a special thank you is the end of the film. Yeah, special thank you credit. You'll be listed with the other backers. So that's the $10 credit. There is a VIP credit, which puts you in a smaller bracket, which is really not that big. The VIP credit section, which is, I think, about $500. I did reactivate it. It puts you in a smaller bracket to put your name amongst less names. Just if you wanted to stand out, it gets listed first. But the special thank you credit starting at $10 comes with every single perk. So I've seen a couple people like get the Blu-ray, then buy a credit. You don't need to do that. Your Blu-ray comes with a credit. Your t-shirt and your pin and your digital pack all come with a credit. That's kind of the point. The credit is the foundation in which the perks are built off of. $10 gets you a credit. $20 gets you a digital copy of the film and a credit. $35 gets you a Blu-ray and a credit. So, no matter where you invest, your name is getting put in the film because you help make the film happen.
That's it.
We do push people like you're doing. Like, you have your associate producer credit that you want to get rid of. I have one that I want to get rid of. I have co-producers and other things that, for people who have that want or need to invest in films in that way, those opportunities are there too. But, I think one of the things I wanted to do is say, like, yeah, not everybody has that type of money to invest. Not everybody has a couple $1,000s burning a hole in their pocket that they can just, do it to have like their name on the front of a credit. I get that. That's why we created the Jarvis versus Jason raffle, to give somebody who might not have those types of means, but might have $50 that, they're going to get something really nice from the campaign.
Yeah.
And then they might wake up on Friday the 13th and find out that they're an executive producer on the project, and that they're getting a really cool and expensive piece of, movie memorabilia to say this was something that was used in a film with Tom Matthews fighting Jason Voorhees in, something that people are going to watch for a long time. And it's going to be a mantelpiece in your horror den. You get to hang it up and say, Tom Matthews signed this. This was the shotgun from Never Hike Alone 2. That's a pretty good bragging right. And all just for $50. Yeah. And to give someone that opportunity, I think it's a really good thing. Again, this is all about backer enjoyment and backer, satisfaction. And we want our backers to feel satisfied and confident that they would, they're happy that they backed us, and they back again, and maybe we'll discover some more people along the way, which will be even better.
Yeah, exactly. And, and it goes to a good cause, whether you're supporting Never Hike Alone 2, Billy, Dylan's New Nightmare. I mean, it's going to a good cause. It's supporting us as filmmakers. It doesn't go into our pockets. It goes into the production of the film, but it is supporting our film. You are helping to make it a reality. It's like I say all the time, Vince, and I'm sure you'll agree. We might be the heart. I mean, we are the heart that pumps and that is the driving force to getting these productions made and done. But at the end of the day, the blood is all the fans. The blood are all the people that support and donate and contribute, and they are the blood. And without the blood, the heart doesn't pump anything. Without your support, Vince can't get this movie made. I mean, it's now made, but I'm just saying, without your support, he couldn't have got it made. And I'm sure it's going to look spectacular, and it's going to be great, and people are going to love it. And oh my God, this is fantastic. And that's because of you. It's because you all stepped up and made it possible. And so, you know, it's a win-win for everybody, you know, really at the end of the day. And it's not like you're just, listen, there is an opportunity to donate. Obviously, I'm sure you've had some people who are not interested in any perks or whatever, and they just want to donate some money. That's fine. Or maybe they've already got, you know, their Blu-rays or the t-shirts or whatever. And they're like, well, I don't really want 500 of these things. I'll just donate. We've had a few people on our side do that as well. I've already got my Blu-ray. I've already got my t-shirt. I don't want 10 more. So I'm just going to donate $50 or donate $100. You can do that too. And
yeah, when you, or they add something else to their thing. Like, you know, we come up with new perks. Like, you know, one of the things I'm going to do, because winter's coming up and it's probably a good time to do it, we're going to combo the sweatshirt with the beanie.
Right.
You know, get a Never Hike Alone sweatshirt and a Never Hike Alone beanie, walk away with a combo pack, which I think will be pretty rad.
Yeah.
And then the people that don't want to back, we know what we can do with them.
Well,
not real YouTube.
I just got age restricted.
It's airsoft. Yeah.
No. I got age restricted. It's over. It's over.
That's it. No more monetary.
No. This stream right now will only have like 350 views for the.
I know. See, it's not real. It's not real.
I don't know.
We did the checks. It looks, but that's the thing. Like we got it. We invested in a prop that looks real because we wanted to. It's got real weight. It's heavy.
That's it.
You could have it. I'll send it in the foam padding and everything. It'll be great.
That's awesome.
And I'm gonna have Tom sign it next week when we do ADR. We have ADR on the 29th.
There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect.
We're going to sign a bunch of posters. We're going to do some other stuff. And honestly, I just can't wait for people to see Never Hike Alone 2 and see some of the surprises that we have in store for them. Some of the scenes that we created. It was an adventure to make it. And I just think it really, again, I think we're just pushing the envelope even further. Or I think we're going to challenge people to push their films even further. And hopefully things just keep getting better and better. And the people who are going to, you know, benefit the most are the fans, because they're getting more content that's worth watching.
That's it. That's right. Excellent. Well said. Any last questions or comments you want to grab from the chat room at all, or?
I'm kind of flipping through. I mean, I see people debating with each other about different things and stuff like that. I don't need to jump into some of that stuff.
Is it Trump-Biden debate or what's going on?
No, the people are trashing on Marcus Nispel and other
see.
things. But it's fine. No, I mean, I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now. And you know, I wish you the best, you know, you and Bruce the best of luck as you set off on your journey this winter to finish your thing.
Thank you.
Someone, you know, it's nice. I really feel like this is a really, you know, special fall. Like Dylan's landing and doing well, you know, hopefully, you know, Never Hike Alone, when it lands, it does well. And then, you know, It's Me Billy gets sent off into its production, you know, with, you know, 2 fan films doing well this fall. And we have something to look forward to next year with your stuff. And it's just a continuation of this community, this little family of filmmakers that we built, all sort of, you know, leapfrogging off one another and inspiring each other to do better and do more and do those things. And I'm looking forward when we all get together and, you know, next year, and all of our projects are finished and they're playing at film festivals, and we all get to go watch them in succession and talk about them afterwards and talk about the adventures and, you know, see the future filmmakers in the audience who are inspired by the work that we're doing, because that used to be me. I used to be in the audience watching people make a film. In fact, I saw a film called The Final Girls, which
I watched that not that long ago.
Yeah, which was great, with Todd Strauss-Clausen, who directed, who also did, like, I think Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle type. And he did one of those movies. But he made that movie, which is very much inspired by Sleepaway Camp and Friday the 13th. And I just saw it and I was really inspired by it. And I heard his story and it inspired me to do my project. And it's funny because I was working on a project called Chad a year and a half ago, and he
Hanging
was one
Chad,
of the directors.
No, okay.
No, it was a film. No, it's not a Hanging Chad. Yeah, the story of the 2002 election. The 2000 election.
It was a documentary about Bush and
No, it's Nassim Pedrod's show where she plays a 15-year-old young boy in high school. But Todd came on to direct a couple of episodes, and while we were walking to lunch, I ended up walking beside Todd, and I happened to have a Never Hike Alone t-shirt that day.
That's cool.
Because I wear my own shit because it's really comfortable. It's like I have so much stuff left over, I end up just throwing one on.
Why not?
And he looked at me and he went, "Hey, Never Hike Alone, huh? I've seen that. That's pretty good. And I was like, he's like, you like that film? And I was like, I made that film.
Yeah.
And he was like, wait, you? And I was like, yeah. And so we started talking. I was like, we've actually met before. We actually had a long talk about production design and the way that you designed and colored Final Girls. I thought it was very interesting because it's a very bright, almost Wizard of Oz type, Land of Oz type coloring scheme. And I was like, what brought you that way? He's like, I just wanted the magic of the movies and the way, like, horror movies are so dark and dingy. I wanted the exact opposite. I wanted it to be this idyllic, beautiful place. And, you know, again, it was just one of those little nuggets where I learned something from a filmmaker who was on his way up in his career. And it was just kind of cool to see it come back around. But that experience is one of the things that made me want to get off my ass and start directing rather than just working on films. So, yeah, I mean, I can't wait to be at the festival circuit again. I can't wait to be at a project that's fresh, not showing something that's, you know, 4 or 5 years old, that's something that's just been released and that people are, you know, that want to know more about. I'm really looking forward to that experience. I'm looking at sharing that with you and Cecil and Ben and everyone else who's been, you know, and Nora and all the people that we sort of cross-pollinate our projects with, all coming out and supporting each other. And I look forward to being able to make more projects with you in the future, whether it be Dylan's or something else or something original.
For sure.
I'm sure we're just going to keep collaborating for years. And it's, you know, if people want to talk down for fan films, hey, it brought a bunch of people together that all like working with each other. So I'm not going to complain about it.
No, not look, I agree. Again, I mean, I don't think I could say it any better. I echo everything you've said. It's been a heck of a journey, you know, to think, it's just everything to be involved with Dylan Zoo Nightmare, the Billy stuff, everything. Just, you know, the people I've met, just being at the Mad Monster convention, being in the makeup, you know, talking to people who've come up to the table and, you know, this YouTube channel. I mean, you know, I started this 5 or 6 years ago because I needed a way to just basically vent about Halloween. I had no plan. I still don't have a plan.
See? Yeah.
I have no plan. I still don't have one. I'm just here talking about movies and people call me a reviewer and I'm like, okay, I don't think I am because I don't review movies, but I get why I get, you know, I'm more of a talk radio, I guess, you know, pundit. But it's been a heck of a journey to meet all sorts of people, not just, you know, but through YouTube and you know, the filmmaking and then all of a sudden I'm in a Freddy movie as Freddy opposite Miko Hughes. And it's like, well, how did that happen? You know, right. And it's wild because as I've said many times, I don't think you can get as close to playing Freddy in as the real thing without, like, I think that's as close as you can get without it being the real thing. You know, there I am in the makeup chair for 8 hours. No.
For 3
for 3 days. Nora had
slathered with glue.
Nora had no idea what the fuck she was doing.
Killing a horse after horse so she could adhere everything to your face.
Face-off winner? Pfft, please. She was for 4 hours, excuse me. Sometimes 5 hours but just being there and seeing that process and you know, the application. There I am out on set opposite Miko and in that environment and doing the whole thing. And I sit there and I think to myself, you know, yeah, like there's no other, even whoever is the next Freddy, by the way, my phone is on, just saying if anybody wants to give me a call. But whoever, I don't think, let's say it's not me, I don't think whoever it is going to have the audition opportunity that I just had. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no way that, you know, I don't know, Devon Sawa is going to walk into New Line and fucking make up in 8 hours and shit and be it. No, he's not going to do that.
He's going to see Dylan's and be like, that's what I got to do. Yeah. I got to hire me somebody and he's going to hire Nora. Hey, he's going to buy her.
He hires Nora.
Just steals him right out from under.
Steals it completely.
I think one of the interesting things is it's like, you know what? In 2016, when the words "who should direct the next Friday the 13th" were uttered and the question was put out there, no one ever said, oh, that guy Vincent DiSanti should do it, because no one knew who I was. Now in 2023, maybe I'm not going to get the gig, right? But you know what? My name might come up in a conversation. Your name might come up in a conversation. They might pull up Dylan's as an example in an actual studio meeting to say, hey, look what fans did. You know what I mean? Like, here's a good example. Somebody's going to use that as an example, or someone's going to point. I mean, industry people already point towards Never Hike Alone for certain things. And it's cool. And it wouldn't have happened if we didn't try. And if we would have listened to people who said, like, well, fan films aren't real and blah, 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 we would have never gotten here. So it's like,
look,
you can't argue with the success.
Just to be, and as I said, I'll leave the studio name nameless, but just to be on a Zoom call with a producer working at a studio that everybody would know, with Bruce, and talking about how much he loved Billy, the first one, obviously this is last year, and being in a position where he's like, well, you know, what else do you got? You know, I mean, just that is like, and it all came because of a fan film, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And something that, you know, and again, obviously I recognize that, you know, what we're doing is not just a fan film, but it's to your point, you know, you work hard, you put the effort into it, you take it seriously, you forge those connections, those pathways, you know, you give back, just treat people with kindness and just see where it goes, you know, mm-hmm. But you got to put yourself out there, you know, and yeah, to be Freddie and to work with you and to see you on set and Miko and Cecil and to meet people there who I'd never met before, you know, and Ron, I mean, Ron, my God, Ron is such a sweetheart of a guy. Oh my God. I mean, just so nice. His wife is so nice, to work with Ron as well, and Cindy and everybody was just great. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just such a great opportunity to be able to step into those shoes and showcase what I could do. And so far, people seem to really enjoy it. I mean, you know, I've heard things like the best Freddy since Robert. And I'm like, well, there's only been one other, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll fucking take it. Take it.
No, it is. It really is sort of a nice, it's just nice that it gets brought up to see stuff in Bloody Disgusting and to see stuff in iHorror and, you know,
to see your name in those trades is wild.
It's surreal. It really is. It's kind of cool. It's a feather in your cap. It's a nice little, like, you know, when you put in that effort, the recognition is nice. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Obviously we'd all like to be paid to do this professionally and have that be our lives. But in the meantime, when we're not getting that, at least people are paying attention and people are recognizing effort and recognizing, you know, the work that you put in and saying that they like it. It's, you know, that's why we do this.
Exactly.
You know, that's ultimately, we love doing it ourselves, but we love entertaining people. We're hams. We're out here singing and dancing for your entertainment.
Yeah.
But your entertainment energizes us as people, because that's who we are. We're storytellers and we're creatives, and this is just what we do.
Yep. Exactly. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. All right. So, any last things you want to say, Vince, in regards to Never Hike Alone 2? Any last thing you want to plug?
Just one last reminder that the credits are going to close at the end of the day on Monday. I'm going to start working on building the scroll on Tuesday. We're going to have it done by the end of the week. So if you haven't backed yet, back now. If you have backed, don't let that stop you from taking the link, putting it on your social media this weekend and saying, hey, if you're a Friday the 13th fan, if you're a fan of horror, or if you just love independent cinema in general, this campaign that I'm a part of is worth joining, and you should join me and you should help these guys, because everything that we do, you know, you want to be a part of this. Like right now we have the money, the film is finished. We're going to raise money in the back end to get everything shipped to everybody and build everything. That's going to happen. But what you don't want to miss out on is to have your chance to be in the credits, and 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, pick up that Blu-ray and put it in and say, I was a part of this. I joined over 3,000 people from around the world, and we all made this happen. We came together collectively, and I own a little bit of piece of this. I was a part of this, even in the smallest way. I got my credit, and, you know, there would be no Never Hike Alone if it wasn't for me. That's your opportunity on Monday, slipping away from you, because we're not going to make, you know, any more of these live action. We're going to do some animated stuff, but this is the big one. This is the one that's been leading up to it, you know, that we've been leading to for the last 6 years. So if you want to be a part of this journey, now is the time to do it. You know, the campaign, the raffle, the producer perks, those are all closing on Monday. They're going to disappear from the campaign on Tuesday. It's going to be almost like a brand new campaign on Tuesday. I'm going to be rebuilding it from the ground up with specific perks, focusing on the home video campaign side of it. There'll be, you know, maybe some new stuff, some new fun stuff along the way. And then obviously after the film is released, remember, tune in on Friday the 13th. It's going to be released in the evening. Check back in the campaign afterwards, because now that there's no more spoiler alerts, some really cool perks are going to hit the campaign of things that were actually in the movie that you can own and that you can take home. But it's going to be a lot better if you also have your name in the credits. So, you know, buy your $10 credit now, wait for the film to come out. And after the film comes out, if you want to pick up a Blu-ray, if you want to pick up a prop weapon, if you want to pick up a replica mask, or if you want to pick up a screen used prop, some major costume stuff, tune in after the film releases, because we're going to have some really cool stuff for you then.
Amazing. There you go, folks. This Monday, September the 25th, last chance to get your name in the end credits to Never Hike Alone 2. Never Hike Alone 2 comes out Friday, October the 13th, 2023. We are less than a month, basically 3 weeks away now from the release.
3 Fridays away. Ooh.
That's it. That's it, man. That's it. The nerves are there. The nerves are there. I'm excited for you, man. It's funny that it's basically a year later we'll be releasing our film, you know. Cool. Pretty much, right? Because we're October 11th, so that's wild.
All right,
Vince,
I'm coming to the premiere. Where are you doing it?
I don't know yet. It's the 50th anniversary, so it's gonna. I don't know. We got to talk about that. We're just trying to get through production first.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when you're done, let's brainstorm. We can get some big event going.
That'd we're gonna have to do that. Well, I know that. Yeah. We have ideas. So, hey, man, always great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Great to talk shop. I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you. And I can't wait to see this, you know, this hard work unfold onto the screen. And I'll be, what time of day? Do you know what time of day it's going to drop on?
It's going to be in the evening, because we're going to match it with our screening time at the festival that we're going to be at. So it's probably going to be later, probably around now, East Coast.
Okay.
And then it will be around now West Coast. So yeah, probably around between 6 and 8. I think around there is when we'll probably launch it.
Cool.
I may launch it a little bit before our screening, just to allow people to kind of get in it. I think the people that are going to be at the screening aren't going to want to watch it on their phones before they see it on a big screen. Right. So I'm not too worried about it then. There's going to be anyone who's near Iowa, Halloween-a-Palooza, Tom Matthews will be at that convention. He will be screening Never Hike Alone: The Ghost Cut and Never Hike Alone 2 that weekend, back to back at both screenings with Q&A. We just worked out something with Cinesalem. October 28th, Never Hike Alone 2 is going to be playing with Freddy vs. Jason, and Ken Krisinger is going to be there. And Ghost Cut's going to be playing throughout the month in Salem as well. 13 Gallows Lane on Friday the 13th is going to be hosting a Never Hike Alone screening in Rochester, New York at Track Cinema. And there's another event in Salinas, Kansas that will be hosting Never Hike Alone. So if you back the campaign, you'll get our updates and you'll get word about all of this fun stuff. So definitely, you know, not just back the campaign to get your name in there, get it for all the updates, because you could be at the screening with us and meet us. So it'd be a lot of fun to have as many fans out there as possible, for sure.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks to everybody who has tuned in. Thanks, of course, to my channel members, my moderators. You know who you are. The super chat questions that came in as well. Really, really appreciate that. And to everybody who tuned in tonight. And hopefully, you know, if you're an aspiring filmmaker out there, you wanting to make a fan film, maybe you want to take your stuff to the next level, but you don't know where to start or what to do. Hopefully, you found some of what Vince and I had to say here today of value. What am I looking at here? Oh, that's Pamela Voorhees.
Hey, Mom's here.
Hey, Mom. Hi.
I forgot that she was right here. And then an actual skull.
That's an actual skull?
It's an actual skull.
Wow.
I brought it with me. Yeah, we got it in a house clean out, the doctor's house.
Wow.
And I found this in a box.
Do you know who it belonged to?
Nope.
Do you know if it was male or female?
I'm gonna say male. I think
male?
This one. Yeah. Now that whoever this belongs to haunts me, I think.
Wow, that's creepy.
Anyway. Just grabbing everything on the desk. Be like, look at all this stuff.
All right, man. Vince, stick around. We'll have a proper goodbye. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll be around. I don't know. It depends on. I can't promise anything, but I'll be on when I'm on. I'll try to get a stream in at some point over the weekend, but we'll see. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.